Yeah, I thought there were moments where we were just gonna like hanging out and just like pondering what we were gonna do next, but then coming to realize like, wait, Matt's audio isn't here. We're just kind of like wandering through the dungeon, figuring things out.
Well, you figured it out. That's what was important.
Hey, welcome again. We've got another episode of Cardboard Conversations. I'm Pat from Pure MTG, joined by Matt as well. This evening, we've got no Bob, so we invited along a couple of other crazy cohorts. We've got Alex from Ashen Wings and Prime from Prime 406. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
Nah, man, hanging out, a really warm Saturday afternoon up here in Vermont. You guys can't tell, but I've got the AC cranking in here. We're just living the dream.
I always have the AC cranking. I love it cold, man.
Our AC is. We don't even need to have the AC on at our place simply because we live in a cool little like corner area, so where the sun doesn't even come in here. It's cold even with the air off. It's so nice. So
awesome.
That's sweet.
Hi DJ, how are you? I know it has been a minute. I finally have some free time to myself. So
shout out to everybody in the comment section. Thank you for joining us.
Hi guys.
And hey Anthony, I hope your trip's going well. Super jealous of you, buddy. I've been seeing some of the pictures you've been posting, and honestly, yeah, I'm so glad you're having a great time up there. Wow, man, it's been a pretty crazy time recently in Magic the Gathering with this whole aftermath of the aftermath going on right now. It's pretty wild to see that some single cards from an aftermath box could well pay for the entire box. It's rather unlike most set releases in Magic the Gathering. Have any of you guys been partaking in this wildness?
I've not.
I've looked into it a little bit. I've looked into the pricings, and I've thought about buying a couple boxes just out of curiosity, just to see. I mean, the print run or the number of cards that you get per box versus like the cards that are worth money. I mean, because there's only 50 cards in the set, it seems highly likely that you would get, your money back. But at the same time, it's 50 cards in a set. It's not very exciting to open. I don't know.
Oh, right. All of the redundancy and the repetition in the cards that you're seeing is just
I like
so
new,
so.
spicy, fun stuff. I don't want to keep opening the same thing over and over.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. One of the reasons I enjoyed the pack opening experience of Mystery Convention boosters was because of the randomness, because it had such a large pool to pull from. I believe it was well over 1,000 different cards in the set, and truly different, not variants of the same card like what you'll see in the Aftermath box, where it's 50 cards, but you get 6 different versions of each one. Now, with the convention, the mystery boosters, you get a huge pool to draw from. So you're seeing so many different things. Interesting, yeah.
I don't know. I think from what I've seen, I mean, obviously I've been a little not like super disconnected from Magic, but I'm still keeping up with the Joneses for the most part. And I think that the set only having 50 cards was enough for me to not really want it. And I think I equate Aftermath. I'm sure this has probably been said 1,000 times with you guys, but I view Aftermath a little bit like DLC for a game, right?
Yeah.
It's essentially
exactly, dude.
It's like they could have put it in, but they didn't because they were like, hey, hold on, sell this for a different product.
Whoa, we could sell this.
Yeah. But we could charge more. We could make some more money. Interesting, yeah.
Right, but I think it's it's going to have its place, and this is them trying. This is the first time they've done something like this, so it's understandable that there's going to be a lot of yeses and nos, and this is a great product and this is a bad product, but I think overall, it is what it is. Do I think the cards are going to have value? Do we know like print runs or anything yet? I haven't I
don't think they're ever
generalized
runs of anything.
Yeah, come on. Who do you think this is?
I've heard the supply is lower than normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering whether or not they
that as well. Yeah.
I was wondering if that was the case, if they were going to.
The collector's boxes have actually went back up. They were in the 140s, and now they're spiking back up to. I'm sorry, they were down into the 130s. Now they're 157, 164.
I guess it is the Nissa chase after all, huh?
Well, it's Nissa. I mean, Sarkon. I called Sarkon. Sarkon spiked in price. He's like $40 for the showcase Halo foil.
Mm.
And then I don't know. It seems. I think it's because it's not being opened a ton. Like, there's not a ton of
Right, yeah,
listings of
yeah.
these cards.
The Halo foils are freaking money too. It's like those are like 20 to at least $20, even for shitty ones.
Yeah, and that tends to be the case too, right? Like, I mean, even you just see that a lot, right? This is the supply and demand generalization, right?
Yeah.
If people don't want to open the product because they don't feel like it's worth it to them to open, then the single market is going to skyrocket because now there's like none of them on the market to find, especially if they're really powerful cards that do have a use in this future meta. So there's a place for it, but
yeah, like you said, with it only having 50 cards in it, it kind of felt like a. And I've never heard of anybody describing it as DLC, but it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's an
add-on.
Like March of the Machines was the set, and I think that they were like, okay, well, we could have made it. I think I've even seen this said in several other places on Twitter, and people were talking about how it's like they really like push as far as like the storyline's concerned, the lore. They like pushed a lot of it, and they were like, okay, we went from Phyrexia, now the Phyrexians like invading all of these worlds and all these planeswalkers getting completed, to then like in a matter of a set in no time flat having all these planeswalkers no longer be completed, and then also Phyrexia being stopped in one go, when they could have maybe like made March of the Machines like the war, and then they could have made the next set the aftermath of everything, right? And it would have been a 300 plus card set or whatever. But I don't know. It's a test on their end, but I do think that overall, and Ed, I mean, in a way, yes, right? That would be the case, right? If there are less cards, but I guess I just don't know how many people.
If a normal set is 350 card set, right? That means this would be 1/7 of the size, and they'd have to get 1/7 of the distribution to keep it equitable. And I just cannot imagine an extra, add-on product like this that they would only print 1/7 of it. If anything, it seems as though stores are probably stuck with it more than less.
Yeah, I think it could be, in a way. I kind of view it like you have we're in like the openings, like you can get like, I don't know, you can get like at least like more than half of the set in a matter of a box. So like if you're able to do that, then you're always going to get stuff on the market. It's just depending on who wants to keep stuff and who doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
At that rate, if you could buy a box and get almost the entirety of the set, at that point you just need to worry about getting play sets and so on and so forth. So
it was actually one of the conversations we had. I was like, I think Alex is going to love this set, in all honesty, because for like $100, you buy 2 boxes, you can get the whole set. I was like, this is an unlock for set collecting in some instances. Is that actually something that like pulls you into it? Does that draw you?
I don't. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of it, honestly, just because
shaking his head slow and steady.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like as a set collector, right? Yeah, 50 cards. I got it. Yeah. Right? Like I think that's so cool that I can get 50 cards and get the entirety of the set. But like, when you still institute all the different foilings and all the different variants and so on and so forth, there is still a little bit of difficulty there. And I think it's just not a it's not a set that personally myself looks at and goes, gosh, I want every card in this set. I just want it all. Like the ease of it, sure, right? I'm sure there's ease of it, but I think as far as like finding stuff to collect, I'd rather still spend my money on things that are like have a genuine collectability, right? Like I mean, a lot of people still we're doing reserveless cards and we're doing older sets, even if it's like an old set of like Stronghold or something, right? It's a lot more. It's got a lot more entertainment value and a lot more collector value, in my own personal opinion than something like Aftermath, which will probably be around and be on shelves for a while.
Yeah.
And the prices are going to fluctuate all over the place, but there's nothing genuinely rare in Aftermath to me.
And Prime, Matt, I know you guys are both rather good with your purchases. You guys are much better as far as fiscally responsible with your purchases than I am. Is this going to be a product that either of you want to get into? Are you going to be Timmy's and rip these small wrappers apart?
I bought one pack when I was playing like a couple weeks ago, and I got Nissa. I don't need to.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I have mine. Yay! It goes straight in the deck, so I'm just like, whatever.
I'm at war in my head about how I feel about there being only 5 cards per pack. On the one side of the fence, I almost always skip past the commons anyways, so maybe that's a good thing. Maybe only having 5 cards per pack is good. But then it feels like after I open a 24-pack box I spent $65 on, if I don't get any of the hits, then I look at like the little stack of cards that I have, and then it doesn't feel as good. Right. I don't know if commons are like fluff that just make the purchase feel better. I don't know. I guess
an interesting point.
Maybe it's worth buying a box, opening in it, see how it feels. I mean, then again, I just recently bought a collector's box of March of the Machines, and holy, I got hammered. It was the worst box thing I've ever opened in my life. It barely broke $100.
Oy.
It was kind of brutal, honestly. I started the box off very optimistic and ended the video with I don't know. Wondering what happened.
It's
tragic accident.
I think it's definitely interesting because so many. I don't watch a lot of pack opening videos anymore. It's just seeing what lottery chance people get. So it's not really my big draw for when I watch YouTube videos now. It is interesting, however, to see the huge reduction in pack size and how much quicker videos go with it now. I think honestly, I like that. Uncommons are the new commons. It's true though. With how fast people are going through these packs, it isn't even that satisfying of an experience now to watch people go through them. If you're just constantly, you run right through the commons, you don't even look at them. It's kind of a bummer. If there are only 5 cards, 6 cards in the packs, this isn't even fun to me at this point. It is just as fast as you can scratch off the lottery ticket to see if you've won.
Yep.
It feels more like a fever dream than an actual box opening experience.
I like the cards in there. I just don't like it. I like the cards, right? There's some good cards in there, some powerful stuff. I just don't like how it is sold to me.
But that's the reason why we open packs, right? Is for the dopamine rush of hitting something good. You don't open the packs for the fun of it.
That's one of the funny things is so Alex did a box opening recently. He did some Uprising, and he pulled some great stuff for me. And he sent me an email. He's like, "Hey, do you want just the the valuable cards or everything?" I was like, "I'm building decks. I do want all of the stuff, like all of the generic cards, all of those things." When I start going through Flesh and Blood boxes, I am actually building up a collection. So I do like getting the commons and rares, which are the uncommon equivalent in Fab. Whereas in Magic, I have literally thrown away like 20 pounds of cards in the last week. So yeah,
you should be donating
it tends to happen.
Donating them to the
you definitely donate those.
Yeah.
I have called all of the LGSs within an hour's drive, and nobody will take commons or tokens.
Not LGSs. LGSs have a surplus of crap. They don't need more crap.
Yeah, I would say, and like I think the other thing, right, is that something that, and this is kind of how I felt about it too when I was first getting into Flesh and Blood, is the fact that when I started opening boxes of Flesh and Blood, there was a feeling I felt of like a sense of joy, because I was like, oh man, this is new territory to me, right? Like I didn't have any cards about it at all. I didn't know anything about how the game was played at a competitive level. I didn't know anything about it. And so everything felt special to me because I didn't have that. I often, again, like I didn't think my experience working at a video slots place was going to give me any kind of life advice. But like, the less you know about a game, the more things look good. Like the more exciting things get. Like if you don't know anything about the slot game you're playing and you hit that button and you win $2,000, it's amazing. But if you sit there and you try to analyze every single thing about the slot and how these are the odds and this is what it's going to be and this is, you know, these this slot here, like this is just a fake way to make them try to hype me up, but it's not really going to hype me up. And like I need 4 of these in a row in order to get an okay one, but like 5 of them for a bonus. And the less you know about the stuff, the better it feels when you're doing when you have like a gambling experience. And I think a lot of people who are set in Magic the Gathering, right? They open up something like Aftermath and they're like, wow, this did nothing for me. Like it did nothing for me at all. I'm not even half chub. Like I'm nothing at all. And that is, and that's like a big problem for a lot of people who are looking for that thing. And not that I, you know, not that I'm like supporting gambling, but there's got to be a way that you do it in the right way. And I believe that Aftermath was certainly a bad gambling experience.
Yeah.
But a good singles buying experience because the cards are good. There's at least good cards in there. So you're not like, it's not like everything in there was a, garbage commander that you were never going to see play ever in your life.
That is a good point. There are cards people want to get out of those packs. Nissa, incredibly good. That's a deck I want to make. That new Narset, that thing is quite pushed. So there are definitely a good couple of hits in it. I'm
a fan of the Sarkhan.
Sarkhan looked good.
Karn looks good. I like Karn.
They look good.
The cards. I was thinking about something. How many commons are normally in a set? Is this set really that small, or did they just remove the garbage from? Like, how many commons are actually useful? Realistically, 1%, maybe.
Well, it depends on the format you're playing.
Help me out. Run some numbers, would you?
It depends on the format you're playing, though, right? Like if you take a look at something like Pauper
in Commander.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So if you're looking at Commander specifically, there probably are not a whole lot of commons that are coming out of Aftermath that you might be like, yeah, this is a perfect piece in here. But I mean, if you're looking at something,
commons.
Right. So,
but that's what I was saying. I was saying if there was commons in this set, would it make it better? And I don't think so. Maybe
I don't think so.
Draftable if it had more cards per pack, but. Maybe the set's fine, and it's just because it's new and weird, and it's it's the first time they've ever, like you said, first time they've ever done something with such a small thing. Maybe it's hard to wrap yourself around the newness of it. Maybe it's fine. I don't know.
It could be. It could be. I don't. Obviously, more product to the market. It's it's nothing new that we haven't been dealing with for the past 5 years or something. So it just is more and more things that are coming in. But, I'm always one to give credit where credit is due when companies do want to actively try new things to kind of spice up the way that they, that they sell their product or something that they want to implement to maybe do something that's tied in more towards the story or something more into this. And I know their intentions for Aftermath, I'm sure, were fantastic, right? Epilogue set to do this whole lore bit that they were really excited about, but they really messed it up because they really are pushing a lot of this product fast, and it doesn't give them time to find things like lore or anything that could be the thing with previous sets, and so everything just seems to be slamming into a brick wall. And they just keep adding more vehicles to slam into brick walls until eventually they're like, okay, hold on. Now we need to repair the brick wall. But we're going to do it again later just with plastic cars instead of cars made of, metal or whatever. So I think there's always room for improvement anywhere in anything. Trying to keep as indifferent in, positive of a light as possible in regards to a situation like this. But I think it's got merit. I just don't think that it's something that most people will want to open, and because of that, will probably sit on shelves for a long time, which is unfortunate for LGS because that means that LGS are probably either going to have to open all that product themselves and sell it as singles, which is probably better at this very moment, or they can sit on it. And I don't know if
That's
people
tough
really
for
want
an
to sit on
LGS,
it
yeah.
because it's a 50 card set. Like, I don't think 20 years from now people are going to be like, got any of that aftermath for me, buddy?
Right,
Like,
yeah,
I don't.
I think long term, one of the drivers, specifically in the sealed portion of this product line, is that there won't be a lot of it that people have around. I mean, I was just checking on TCG Player. There are 114 listings for Nisa Resurgent Animus, the new one out of Epilogue here, and it's just not a lot for a brand new set that has just come out. And it's full release at this point. People have product if they were getting it.
Is
It
Epilogue standard legal?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's
a
really
weird
odd.
set to have a standard legal.
Well, and that's
That's
the
what
thing
I'm
is
saying.
that, like, you can't draft it, so why is it standard legal? You can't engage with a product in the same way. So MTG box analysis, big up. Hey, Anthony, thank you much. The average MTG set is close to 60 to 80 uncommons and 90 to 110 commons. Wow.
The only thing they really did is they kind of skimped on the uncommons.
Hmm.
The random reprint of the one random reprint of the
What
set,
the
Training Grounds, makes zero sense to me.
Like,
is there a
seriously,
lore
what
reason? Is anybody a lore
because
aficionado that like
yeah,
knows
the
why?
lore
they saw a $30 card with one printing and were like, that one.
Maybe.
You know what's extra fucked about that though, honestly, Prime, is that to follow that logic, they're like, hey, here's a card we can reprint. We're gonna Mystic Remora the shit out of Training Grounds, right? Hey, let's go ahead, take this card that has some value. It'll draw people into it. Yeah, the thing is though, that card has gone down, but Nissa Resurgent Animus has gone through the fucking roof because nobody's opening the product. So yeah, it is literally one of the most negligible reprints of like all time.
But it says get 24. This is the description of the set. It says get 24 lore-packed epilogue boosters to witness the conclusion of the March of the Machine storyline. So I have to imagine it has something to do with the lore.
Okay, so Training Grounds was in Rise of the Eldrazi, I believe.
Did they fight in the Training Grounds, or did they train?
I think, yeah,
to
something
fight
happened there.
Phyrexians.
Something happened.
Well, then why don't they like reprint Nettlecyst for fuck's sakes? Like, I don't know.
I was going to say the moment
Nissa
Resurgent Animus rotates out of standard, it's going to be like a
training
$10 to $15
that's
card.
3 years from now. Remember,
I was going to say, but it's like 3 years from now.
The only lore reason that they have it in there is strictly based on the flavor text of the card, which says, "For those who survived, being prepared for the next crisis became one of the greatest virtues," which means they had to go, what's a card that'll tie into the fact that they were at their lowest and now they need to build up their army to become stronger after this, horrid thing that happened. How can we tie in this to something else? It's like, wait a minute. Training Grounds. And it's probably exactly what happened. They were just like, we can just reprint Training Grounds in here. But there is a lore connotation.
Like, I'm not
it's not
like, that's so much the MTG attitude is. Yeah, well, we could reprint X in this set.
Yeah.
As long as it's within flavor, right? I mean, like, you're not going to like reprint. They at least try, right? Because like they do have. If you're going to reprint like Phyrexian Obliterator, you're not going to do that in an Ixalan set. Unless, like, it has something to do with the Phyrexians, probably, right? So, I get where they're, like, trying to go as far as, like, flavor, but do I think there was, they were like, hey, how can we get people to buy this 50-card set? Like, you've got Nissa, who's obviously the other cards in there are good besides
this shit,
but
yeah.
Like,
and that
right.
Nar set is broken as like any other Nar set ever.
Well, here's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think so, Matt?
No, I think she's fine. But
yeah, I think she's extra
the
fine.
Nissa, the current Nissa, the past Nar set that I'm remembering is like
Enlightened Master.
I have infinite turns when I attack. This is just like I have to dirtle a bunch and waste everybody's time, and then probably attack and kill one person. Maybe I don't know. I don't see it as. It's not a combo-y creature. It's a. I mean, it can be. I mean, obviously, if you have anything infinite, makes her insane because then you have infinite power. I don't know. I've watched her in a commander game, and it didn't really impress me. it looked like they just dirtled a bunch, and then like their creatures were like 10/10s, and then they swung, and then maybe they eliminated somebody, maybe they didn't, but they didn't win the games. I don't know. It doesn't impress me that much. It's not bad. It's like a mid-level card in my opinion.
I get you.
I also don't think this is as good as people are. I mean, maybe in standard it's insane, but like in commander, I don't think you build this as a commander, so I think it's just in an elf deck. And then I would never pay for. I don't know. Just the $40 price tag for a commander staple is okay, I guess. I don't know.
I think from a standard standpoint, I think it probably would be good simply because it's got 2 out of the 3 like most popular colors in standard right now, outside of black. So
yeah, I don't know how good elves are in standard.
Yeah,
I don't play standard. I have no idea.
I don't know, but it's I don't know. It's just a card. I don't know.
It's a good card. It's like a Lotus Cobra for elves. Like that's great.
Yeah,
sure.
With a little bit of like search added into it too. If you're on your second land for the turn, you get to reveal cards until you hit an elf or an elemental.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that it's until you hit it. So you're always going to get that payoff. It's not like, look at the top 3 cards. If it's X, do Y. You are guaranteed as long as you have elf or elemental left in your deck, or a shapeshifter for fuck's sake. Max Wood Next is Bob. I get it. Max Wood Next. Yeah, it is.
I wonder if Training Grounds is where the planeswalkers that lost their spark, maybe they go there and they get their spark back.
They're like, oh shit, I don't know how to do anything without my spark. I'm useless. I gotta figure out how to use a sword again. This is ridiculous.
So a dirtle is, I assume that you're actually being serious. It's when you kind of just like spin your tires. Yeah, what's a dirtle?
A dirtle is blue-red.
Yeah,
means take your time.
It's the
basically dirtling is when you're using a bunch of cantrips like Preordain and Brainstorm, and you're basically just like casting a bunch of spells but doing nothing. That's dirtling. If you spend 30 minutes with your turn and then pass and don't win, that's dirtling. It can be in any colors, but blue-red does that more.
Looking at like Training Grounds really doesn't fit anything other than that flavor text because there's no activated abilities that are colorless in this set.
It's just kind of a static.
It literally just
it's not about what the card does. It's about where and what the Training Grounds lore has. Like it's from Rise of Eldrazi, so I have to imagine it's Eldrazi related. And there's even like Eldrazi pylons in the art.
Yeah,
so it's definitely something Eldrazi related. Is there lore in
But they could have just put Eldrazi conscription in, and that just would have been cooler. And it's colorless too. It goes in more decks. People can use that to end games. Where honestly, Training Grounds just kind of makes things take longer.
Oh, that's right.
It fills up the field a bit more.
Standard. So if somebody breaks Training Grounds, it actually could go back up in price because then it'd be used in standard.
That's all it takes.
Got nuked though, so
and it's got 2 years to do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing.
I just don't think
it might be worth picking up like a couple Training Grounds at their lowest. It's interesting.
Yeah. At their lowest, are you talking about Wizards?
It's
$5.
I think
they're gonna keep going low,
right?
Is what I'm saying. Even the showcase version, which I think is the best version, is $8.
Wow, that is rather cheap. And honestly, I actually did just buy some Magic the Gathering singles, which is something I haven't done probably this year. No. I think in like February, I bought an Aetherflux Reservoir because Bob was right. That needed to be in at least one of my decks.
It's a good card.
Aetherflux Reservoir is a pretty fucked card. Like
honestly, I haven't bought a single Magic card in quite a while.
Same.
I've just been doing this.
I thought those were actual Magic cards. Oh my god! Because they were so curled, I was like, "Oh no, he's got foils."
No, these are pieces of paper. I don't know. This is why they curl because they have ink on like a thin sheet of paper
on one side. Yeah.
But I've just been printing out because I play in a league every month for Commander, and we have to build a new deck every month. And I was just like, I'm not gonna buy new cards every month for a deck. And I try to use cards if I have them. If I don't have them, then I just print them out. And then why I keep those, I probably shouldn't. I probably should just throw them in the recycling bin. But I mean, I can, if I remember that I had already printed out that card, I can save the ink and save the paper. And
That's why I
Thinking-
print my proxies at work.
wow, foil etched
fuck that.
training ground 570. That's
Yeah.
It's actually pretty decent.
What's
And
the
the
normal
foil
price? It's the
etch
same as
cards
the
for some
normal
reason
price.
seem to.
If you needed to pick them up, I mean, like I think
Oh, no.
usually right around the beginning of a set release is always like it's a weird time because you can pick up the good stuff low, or you can pick up the bad stuff that will soon be good low.
Yeah,
I should
then
love
you just kinda work it
the
from
March
there.
of the Machines aftermath because the abbreviation is just MAT. And
It's
that's
just
my
MAT.
name.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we recently had Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know
Bro,
if that was intentional
Bruh.
because that's a good name. I like that name.
could be. I don't know.
I wanted to
think
make
it's-
I have this like cool, funny idea. I wanted to make like a meme video with my collector box because it was so bad. I
Ooh,
wanted to like
After
dress
Trash.
up
That's
as like
good
a
one.
newscaster and have like a green screen behind me of like a weather report or not weather report, a newsroom report behind me or whatever, and doing a report like local man gets clobbered by mom, and then like just go into the box opening. But I'm too lazy to do that.
Mhm.
So I have this like really cool idea. I think it'd be funny, but then I don't know if the payoff's worth it.
Well, at least you'll have the. If you did do it, you have the knowledge to be able to do it again if you come into that situation. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. I like. I don't know. The cards are very crazy. A lot of people are talking about how like Standard is in a mess right now as far as their three. I don't know how you guys feel about the 3-year Standard right now. I know none of you guys play Standard
I thought it
on
was
a
2
regular
years.
basis.
Is it 3 years now?
3, yeah, 3 years. So
Yeah, now it's
Was
a
it already
2-year
2?
cycle.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
2 already.
2. Yeah, increased
Yeah.
by
Wow.
50%. Yeah,
I knew they
Yeah.
added a year, but I thought it was 1 year.
Yeah, no,
I'm
it's
used to Standard rotating every 6 months. Like that's when I played. I remember it would like every every block like that block would rotate or every was it every?
It was
6?
like every 6 blocks, I thought. Right? Wouldn't.
I feel like
so-
something was always constantly rotating. Is how it
Yeah,
felt.
it used to do that. It was like 1 or 2 would constantly rotate out, and then the new ones would come in, and then
Yeah.
the other couple would fall out.
hmm And so
Yeah, I
like
think
this
it's
one,
weird
for
that they're
instance,
extending Standard. I don't
It
know
was
what
like
the
leapfrogging
purpose
or whatever.
is.
they're
don't-
trying
I don't
to
either.
make sales. I think they're trying to make sales. Or they're trying. I don't know where they got the idea because I have not seen one person go, "Oh yes, I'm so happy that I get to play Fable of the Mirror Breaker in Standard again for another
Well, that's
year."
why
I'm
it's
so
on the
happy.
table to
They
get
banning?
banned.
That's right.
Aw.
So I don't know.
I made a
Benson.
friend.
There you
I
go.
made a friend. I
It's-
think,
like,
honestly, in my opinion, the reason that
embarrassing.
they've extended Standard in the manner that they have is that they can ilk more money from their product lines. Is if they have stuff that is still worth it for 1 year more, they can hopefully get a bit more flush out of their inventory. Like they said in a number of their like fireside chats and shareholder meetings, is that they hold inventory from quarter to quarter, and that's not good for a company by any stretch. And everybody down the line further, it's not good for them either. Distributors, LGSs, they want the customer to hold the product for longer. So if it's more worthwhile to buy into it in 2.5 years, if it's still worth it to get a Nissa in your Standard, well, this is probably the best way that they can do that. I don't think it's a good idea. I'm not a fan of this, but I think from the monetary side of it, it kind of makes sense. And it's
There's a cat
probably a
staring
little
in
bit
my
easier
window.
to code too.
What are you looking at, cat?
It's like, how much is the human in the
Meow.
window?
Just like standing in my window.
Is it
Some
your
random
cat?
stray cat. No, it's just a
Oh,
random
okay.
stray cat.
Just
When I
vibing.
started talking, he's like, "Whoa,
Holy shit, there's a human in that house.
my god!"
There's a man in that cage.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. I want to say that they made their excuses where they were like, oh yeah, we want like people to be able to have new ways to play in Standard, and it's not just going to be like the same 3 decks that you're going to see all the time and it'll help like alleviate or add more things to certain archetypes. Like
It'll probably
God,
just be the same
like all this
couple
other
of
stuff
sets for a
and-
longer time. Yeah.
But exactly, like
Mm.
it's going to be the same things, and they're going to, and that's the other thing. For do a 3-year gap, like a 3-year rotation,
Mm.
like at that point, they're just going to have to double down on bans, and they're going to have to be more consistent and more accurate on their bannings, because
Get
you're not
out
going
of
to,
here! Come on,
you're not going to have that happen.
Yeah,
Right.
Well,
Which also
that's
just fucks
yeah.
shit up. Like
Well,
they're
exactly.
gonna start
right.
banning everything.
Right.
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. Prime is like,
Not
if
at all.
if they're not actually
No.
attentive to their Q&A, if they're not making sure that cards operate consistently with each other, and now they're making their job harder realistically for stability of the format. You're adding in 50% more fuck around.
Mhm.
And that right. So okay, you're gonna have Phyrexians, you're also gonna have Streets of New Capenna, you're gonna have all these different sets over a longer period. If they're not slowing down their set release cycle, then there are just going to be more cards you can play with. Sounds great. Also sounds terrible at the same time, because those really bad decks, the boogeymen decks, are going to stay around longer, and they're just going to have more play pieces. So it's like you're never going to get away from Joda.
Right, and it's
Lord, of the,
you
Lord
could
of the Rings isn't standard, right?
no. Lord of the
No.
Rings is, I think Lord of the Rings is actually
Modern.
modern legal.
Modern and
Right?
it has commander
Yeah.
decks. That's it. Yeah.
Stupid shit. I hate this. Anyway, but
Yeah,
like,
it's
so
like-
this is regardless. I think more so back on the topic of banning.
We're putting that up as a short. God,
Back on the topic of bannings before we get into that whole thing. I think something that I even noticed over at with like Flesh and Blood, right? Like, and this is different because Magic the Gathering has been around for a long time, and Flesh and Blood is not. But there are things in which Flesh and Blood prints, they go through QA or the QC. They play test and they do all this stuff and they make it things happen, and then they're in like within like maybe a month of organized play, they're banned. And they make an entire announcement. They're like, "Hey, we messed up, and we shouldn't have printed this card." Like, Duskblade is an example. For those of you who know anything about Flesh and Blood, Duskblade is a Runeblade weapon that came out in Tales of Aria, and that card was so incredibly powerful, and they knew it was powerful, that for some reason they banned it before the set was even released. Before the set even came out, they were just like, "We can't have this out there. Like, we just can't do it. It's just not a thing." So it's never seen, and it was still available in the packs. Like, you were still able to. It was still in the pack. You're still able to see. You still able to get it. It's a majestic weapon, so it's a little bit harder to get, also. But you still were able to get it, and they immediately were like, "That was on us. Like, that was a bad thing. We made a mistake. And that's our bad." And they're continuing to grow so that their cards that they release are not to the power level that is something like Duskblade, to where they're like, "We just can't have this happen." But in Magic, I mean, like, you only have up to go. Like, you can't just make an entire set full of garbage cards, because then who's gonna buy them? Nobody's gonna buy the singles.
I think that's the
Buy any
issue
of
with
it.
Aftermath. Is out of the 50 cards, there's like 4 that people want.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what 8% of the set is worthwhile to consumers.
That's actually pretty accurate in most cases. I mean, if you look at things like
shit. Suck it, Magic.
Yeah, it is pretty much the case in most things. I mean, you have every time I look at a new set come out and I see what's like the hot stuff, there's maybe like 10 to 20 cards that are like over $5 in a 300 card set, and like the rest are well under, and it's just like, okay, like,
Yeah.
everything else just doesn't matter. Like, these are the money cards because they're either, for some reason have a lower print rate, or they have, I don't know, or they're just like so incredibly powerful that they've changed an entire meta by them being around for a few months. So it's all, there's always power creep every single day, all the time, and it's never going to stop because they can't. I mean, they cannot make a set that is just garbage, because if they do, you're screwing yourself at that point. Like, what's that set for? right? Even if it's a draftable set, you still have to make the draft good. And then like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
Midnight Hunt didn't help their case much.
Mhm. So
But, hey, Matt, I
it's
just
an
gotta ask,
interesting
is
one.
that a
but-
DDR dance pad behind you?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I was just making sure I was like, okay.
I made
Yeah.
it. It's a
Wait,
soft pad
wait.
that I made a hard pad.
Nice.
Soft pads suck because they move around and they bunch up, and they, especially on carpet, they're
Mhm.
not great. And so what you do is you take a piece of plywood and you put some laminate underneath it so it doesn't get like all bagged up, and you you kind of glue it down. You use carpet tape on each of the arrows and on each of the buttons so that they don't move around, and then you put a piece of plastic over top of it, then you tape around it, and then now you have a hardboard. It costs you like
Huh.
$40, and hard pads normally cost about 200 plus.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It works great, so I can't complain.
I used to have one just like that when I was when I had a DDR for oh gosh, what did I play it on the PS2 GameCube? I can't remember what I had. But we had that, and yeah, it moved around like nobody's business, but I didn't even think to just apply some plywood, and smart move. I'll think
Yeah, I
about that.
played back when I was in high school, and I played a ton.
Mhm.
I was able to play on heavy, and I was able to get, I was pretty good at it. But recently I'm like 315 pounds, and I'm like, I need to find something that I don't enjoy working out. I don't know how people do it. I just don't fucking understand it. It's boring, mind-numbingly. I just hate it. Nothing is
Actually, I
enjoyable
like
about working
lifting.
out.
Like that's
all.
for me, honestly,
So I'm
I'm
like,
a
how
huge
do I
fan of
trick my
like
brain?
powerlifting. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing
Oh,
about
that-
lifting
yeah,
heavy
that does
things
it for
makes
me,
me
yeah.
excited. So I'm like, how do I trick my brain into having fun while also working out? And that's the best solution I got.
Way to do it. Hey, it'll work, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people who will do that. They got like
I also found out that there's a Clone Hero 4 DDR for your computer, so you just plug that in USB and you just play it, and it has thousands of songs.
almost everything you can think of. It's great.
You
Prime,
literally
I
can
love
just
your face throughout all of this. Like he's just like, nah, son. Like mm-mm.
You're
He's
probably
like,
one of those people that can eat whatever you want and you're just skinny, so you don't understand.
No, I got like the forever
this dad
beer
bod
belly,
thing
you
going
know?
on. Yeah. He's like, I there's alcohol that's really available. So yeah, I'm not like
Even though I don't
thin.
drink that much anymore. It's like,
I
It's one
just
of the
saw
nice
smoke.
things about
It's
smoking
interesting
is
enough,
it's
And eat a lot of
all
calorie-free.
of the
fucking ice
Commander
cream.
Masters all of the Commander Masters precons are all sold out.
It's been
Ugh.
like
That's-
that for a little bit.
That's not surprising. Those
still
look like to
haven't
be some really
canceled
fun
those.
stuff.
Oh, I pre-ordered all of them, which I
Yeah,
said I would
same.
never do again because I had a bad experience pre-ordering. But
Same.
They look like fun.
Yeah.
I definitely I think I don't know much about what's coming in Commander Masters other than like the couple things
Shit,
you
man,
spoiled. but,
nobody
like,
does. Yeah,
there's
It
only,
is.
like,
Seen the face
10
cards, and that's
spoiled.
about it.
It'll be. I think that's going to be a pretty. Like, I mean, obviously, right? You cater to Commander players, and it's going to be like the hottest thing on the market. But it's I think those Commander decks are really well done. I mean, you brought back several different awesome archetypes.
Zuludoc
Slivers.
Void Gorger looks like a banger. I
Yeah.
haven't looked into how many good colorless things there are to cast at a 7 or greater, but like all the Eldrazi's are pretty good. You're gonna run all those.
Yeah,
I
it's-
wanted to make a colorless deck for a long time, and this is gonna be fun, I think. And I love Cascade. Cascade's great.
Dude,
I play
Cascade's
Animar
dumb.
Cascade.
So
I
nasty.
play Slivers Cascade. It's fucking stupid. It's like,
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Yeah, Animar's already brutal enough. I don't
Matt's not an asshole, Prime. You're playing over here playing Cascade fucking
thank
Cascade Slivers.
Also, bro, I've
Hey
played
man,
with
I
him.
can't knock it. Yeah.
I've played with him. Not
Yeah.
an asshole, my ass.
Yeah.
Motherfucker,
Okay,
turn to
so-
win.
What I actually had the first sliver as my sliver commander, and then I changed it to Morophon because it's even more broken.
I love Morphon. Such
Yeah,
a
it's
claps in the chat for Morphon, leading the
for
Commander
real.
game.
Dumb.
so
I
that's
was forced
actually
to play a Morophon
something.
deck for the league that I was in. Everybody had to play Morphon as their commander.
Yep. That's
There was
what I was
there was
just
a
gonna
decent
say.
number of variety,
Yeah.
which was kind of cool. But I played
Yeah.
Changeling, Morphon. I played a
There you
Changeling
go.
tribal deck, and it worked out pretty well. Some of
Yeah,
them
I
were
mean, I could
slivers,
see,
some
like,
of them were
Morophon
Changelings.
goblins,
Yeah.
Morophon elves. That would be fun. That way you can play every elf. Yeah.
And he's 5 colors, so
That's
it's nice.
good.
But Morophon slivers is just fucking nutty because you could play all the good slivers for free.
Yeah.
Just slam them down. Oh, yeah, I'm going to bounce it back to my hand, slam it down again. Oh,
Right.
bounce it back to my hand, slam it down again.
I do this 8 more times until you cry.
Yeah, like, it's just
And then I
It's really
passed my
fun.
turn.
It's really
And then I
fun
passed the turn.
commander, right?
Yeah. It's more like Moro fun. Ah, fuck, Benson. You're funny.
I tell you.
Yeah, the Ur Dragon's a good one. Sliver Grave Mother's pretty interesting.
I am so not caring about that. That's one of the reasons why I was going to cancel like all of my pre-con orders for Commander Masters, because the Sliver Grave Mother is just so meh to me.
Dude, she's insane. Are you what crack?
Really
are you
good.
on?
A really good card, Grave Mother.
Encore is nutty.
That's pretty good. I think
Think about it
obviously
this way.
like it's different ways,
Yeah.
but
Encore is colorless, which is nice for this for
Yeah.
her. So you play the commander, somebody kills it, it goes to your graveyard, you encore it, you get 3 copies of it, fantastic. And then when it dies, it goes to the command zone. So you've played it twice now without paying its commander tax. That's appealing to me. The legend rule doesn't apply to slivers, makes you're
Right,
allowed
that's the
because you're
only
playing
thing
all
I
5
actually
colors.
care about on it. Like,
Well, it makes it. I think it is a little bit more win more. I'll agree with that. Like slivers are already good enough where they don't need this, but this is definitely going to cause some fun scenarios.
it's a fun commander. I gotta say,
agree.
I think there's a fun kind of, because there's
I guess I just
there's-
don't mess around with my graveyard enough for this to be at all enticing to me. I want to do everything I can to not have shit in my graveyard.
makes sense.
I
Makes
like
sense.
graveyard shenanigans.
I guess that's actually one of the things that inspired me to do the deck that I'm brewing up now is Luris Rats. So Luris, you can just keep playing Pat Colony from your graveyard. So I'm gonna play a shitload of rats and then just keep playing them and playing them and playing them. So I get to have the fun of doing stuff in my graveyard. And now I'm realizing, hey, there are some artifacts that I could sacrifice and recur, which is a word I don't use because. Oh man, what am I, a necromancer? I don't.
Why the fuck do you think Luris is banned, dude?
They're so good.
Yeah.
That reason right there, how you just broke it in your mind.
Yeah.
Oh, there's artifacts I could use. Duh.
Well, so
Yeah.
honestly,
they banned
Matt and
that
I have
shit.
had the conversation with Bob at least 20 fucking times about Jeweled Lotus. And it's like, well, Jeweled Lotus actually goes really well in this deck. It's like
In
the one
monocolored
time.
decks, yes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's
I
It's-
think 1 and 2 color decks. It's good.
yeah, it's
You like
this
it in
is
two
a
color-
one
okay.
white black
If
white
you got
black.
like a really
Yeah,
high
so-
casting, like
No, even
shit.
if it's cheap, how good is it to get your commander out on turn 1?
Oh, that's what I was just
Pretty
saying.
good.
Like, if I get Jeweled Lotus, boom, hey, look, Luris on turn 1. That's not huge, but it's also like a 3/2 lifelinker, and it
Well, you
gets
don't
the
want Luris on turn
shenanigans
1. That doesn't
going.
do anything.
I guess I could get a turn 1 Cranko if in the goblins.
Yeah, it's great.
But that's still single color. I'm trying to think of
Also great to help get Marinar out early. If you're playing rats.
yeah.
There's
I had a buddy
there's
that
a lot
played
of
a
like
relentless
pretty
rat deck.
decent.
He loved it.
Trying to think of
I
dual
don't think that
colored
Jeweled
commanders.
Lotus was one of the it definitely felt like the sky is falling moments when I first saw it. I recall that there was like a command zone episode, and that's like the vernacular they used as well. It
Lathral
felt
on
like
turn 1. It's pretty good.
yeah. Well,
Lateral.
you wouldn't be able to do Lateral on turn 1 because it's 3 mana of any one color.
No, Lathral Blade of the Elves. It's 2 colorless, black green. So you
Right.
play a swamp, and then you get 3 green, and then you play Lathral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. He's on it.
So you
Shit's
can-
nasty.
Look at this
So
guy.
then they have no
Guys.
blockers, and then you just start creating elves on turn
Ugh.
2.
Couldn't do it. That's nasty. I don't know. I wanted to build a Scarab God zombie deck.
I have a Scarab God zombie deck.
Yeah, I love that. I think
It's
it's so
fucking
cool.
stupid. Where do you think
Yeah.
I got
Prosper
training
Tomebound.
grounds?
Prosper Tomebound on turn 1, also pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, hey, what's in your graveyard? Oh, I'm gonna take that. Thank you.
I'll take that thing.
Gimme.
Not as great, but still decent on turn
Hey, you
1.
have to discard some shit. Sorry, I'm gonna take that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Edric turn 1 would be pretty decent. Yeah, I'll certainly admit that.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's not bad. So,
My
yeah.
buddy was playing
Well, I could know you guys
Locust
do
God
that.
against my Scarab God, and he let Locust God go to the graveyard without putting it back in his hand, and I fucking snatched it.
Fuck that shit.
Needed
that thing.
Locust God pisses me off so bad. It's like Impact Tremors, Perforos, Hammer Perforos, other Perforos. Fuck you, I'm going to draw cards, make a bunch of insects. You're going to take a bunch of damage, and I'm going to gain a bunch of life. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
And these guys
Locust God.
haste too.
Okay, Bob's not here, but I'll do the thing. And that prime is why Commander Raids is so much fun.
I know.
yeah, shout out Commander Raids.
Yo, for
I
real
did
stuff.
earlier.
Like,
I was
honestly,
playing Gauntlet with my buddy on Thursday. We played normal Commander, then one of the buddies left, and then him and I just stayed and we played a few Gauntlets. It was pretty fun.
Nice. There you go.
it's definitely a very like I don't know if low risk is the right way to put it. Like, there's so little animosity playing a game of Commander Raids. There is a shared incentive of we either all win or we all lose. Like, I've only ever seen Collected Voyage played once in real life, like in person in a regular game of Commander. Because normally, why would I want to offer to my 3 opponents a chance to get a bunch of basics on the battlefield? That's why all of the tempt with cards are normally balanced in that manner. But when you're playing Commander Raids, it's just a totally different ball of wax. And that's one of the fun things about it, is that it's like a different way to play the same game. It's like if you like Terraria and then you play Terraria Journey mode. It's like, oh, this is the same thing, but it's totally different. It's a low impact experience. I enjoyed that difference.
Yeah. You take the competitive aspect out of it, and it's more like us, you know, you working together instead of you working against each other. I think that's something that a format, I would say low risk sounds good. I mean, like, it's not like people are playing for pink slips or anything, but
Yeah, right.
you know, it is, but it is in the way.
Game. Yeah.
Right. You can still hang out, right? And you can still have a general idea. It still tests how your deck's going to work. You can make decks that normally you wouldn't see in a Commander scene.
Yeah, a hug deck. Who's making a hug deck to like go down to their store and play? It sounds like a wild thing.
I did
Matt's doing it.
Well, it was a deceptive hug deck.
It was
spiky hugs.
It was a hug deck that had infinite combos in it that I hugged until I won. I hugged it until I squeezed the life out of everyone.
Squeeze it out of him.
The angriest Feldergriff in the world. Arr!
The whole deck was just counter spells.
Oh shit! Look at this. Okay, guys. Matt, I said we wouldn't do it, but everybody's got really high quality mics and stuff. We're going 5 deep tonight.
Oh,
what up, Twiddler?
What's going on? How are you guys doing?
Hi, Twiddler.
Welcome aboard.
I just came to get dirtled.
Dirtled. This man's looking to get dirtled.
Have you really never heard of the word dirtle?
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Yeah, I to be fair, I never heard of the word dirtle either. So
really,
do you know? Do you know about the dirtle turtle?
Oh my god, the fucking
that was my nickname in high school, but I never knew about it.
Yeah,
Archipelagos. He's the turtle that whenever he's tapped, all of your opponent's shit comes into play. Well, all of everything comes into play tapped, and then when he's untapped, everything comes into play untapped. So you play the turtle as your commander. And you play like all the crappy tapped lands that normally come into play tapped, but then you have a way to tap him, so you can play all your lands untapped, and then you tap him so that everybody else gets everything else tapped. It's just he's called the Dirtle Turtle.
The Dirtle Turtle, man.
Archipelagos,
Archelos. I'm gonna pull him up here now so everybody can see
Archelos Lagoon Mystic.
Yeah.
All right,
Lagoon.
new deck
Yeah, so as long
incoming.
as he is
There you
tapped, other permanents enter the battlefield tapped. As long as he's untapped, other permanents enter the battlefield untapped. So on your turn, he's untapped, but then for everybody else, he's tapped. So it just makes everybody cry because all of their shit
It's-
comes into play tapped.
Even
He's the turtle
even
turtle.
his flavor text, life is not a race. Like
Yeah,
it's just
he's the turtle.
I
yeah.
love that.
So we don't allow this in my pod
There is
anymore.
a turtle tribal
Yeah.
deck. Hold on,
Yeah. Oh well, everything's
Turtle
everything.
Tribal,
Yeah.
baby.
I want to play
Turtle-
this deck.
Who
I want
knew?
to play turtle tribal.
Swidler's over there just shaking his head the whole time, like "fuck this guy." It's
Hey, I'm down with
there-
anything.
EDH Rec is on a little bit of crack. Okay, so you go to EDH Rec, you go to Arkalos Lagoon Mystic, similar commanders. Atraxa Praetor's Voice. I'm sorry.
Why not? Why not? Right?
Atraxa is much stronger.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh jeez.
Well, Dratha and Yarok both also and Tulane all way stronger.
Well,
I've
hey
never even
Twiddler,
heard of
thanks
this
for joining this
Yeah,
evening.
yeah, no
yeah,
problem.
what's up, Twiddler?
No problem. Got home in time. Wanted to pop in, say hey, just kind of join in, see what's going
You
on.
opening some double masters?
No, Tuesday. Yeah, we'll be doing that.
Oh,
Tuesday.
okay.
Oh,
There you
Dad,
go.
you got a whole case there,
Got a
huh?
couple there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see
we
you've got some
pre-sold
of the,
3 boxes so far, so we're gonna have a good time Tuesday.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's got to be a pretty fun thing to go through that quantity of product. Is there still like an enjoyment, even knowing that those cards are going out to a new home? Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
actually one of the things that drives that?
Yes. And it's not. I don't do it technic. I mean, all right. How do I say this without sounding really asinine? I do it obviously to make a little cash on the side so I can build my collection, so on and so forth. But I don't do it just for that. I do it for the entertainment purpose. I do it for the I want to hit good stuff for people. Now there are times I go through lulls where I won't hit anything for a while, and it just seems like everything's horrible and whatnot. But how can you go wrong with double masters, especially
Oh
a
goodness,
whole
yeah.
case of it? So
Well, 'cause
yes,
the price
this is going to be
versus what you
probably
pull.
one of the more exciting openings that I've ever done. So
Well,
Yeah, I'd
and
love to open packs for other
Yeah.
people. There's no risk for you, and it's just fun. It's just dopamine.
yeah,
rush.
no,
I mean,
and
why
that
not?
too, absolutely.
That's how I feel about box breaks over in my channel. Like, if Pat wants cards, I get to open them,
Yeah.
and then
yeah,
I
yeah.
pull him easy $150 marvels, and he can just
Yeah.
take them home for himself.
Yeah.
So
And it's
Yeah.
it's fun to build up a bit of community in that aspect as well. Is that
Yeah.
there's that shared experience of, hey, we're offering a good price on a box opening. Please, come down. We get to share a bit with our community, and then people are getting stuff through the mail, and you get to sometimes, add in a little extra. It's nice to send somebody a little thank you card as well with their bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, it's
great to be
something
able
we
to
thought-
do that.
It's something we thought we were going to do it's something we were planning to probably do on our channel. I have a subscription to Alpha Investments, so I have access to the standard boxes for $89 shipped.
Yep.
So that makes the price point pretty darn good to be able to then allow people to buy from us. I think still at cheaper than TCG, but while still also not losing money. Because from what I understand, if I were to do that, I'd have to start paying taxes on the sales of the boxes, even though I'm not really making money from it, which seems kind of ridiculous. But from what I understand, you still have to pay taxes on stuff like that,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
it makes it more difficult to give a good deal to people because you got to charge tax. So on $89, if you charge tax and shipping, it starts getting closer towards the TCG player shipped. So then it's not really that big of a deal. But I don't know. The logistics of it sound cool because I want to be able to open boxes and stuff for people, and I want to be able to give a good deal for people. But I don't know. Like I said, the logistics is the reason why we haven't done it yet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I kind of stick to at least for myself, I stick to maybe at least like one box break a month, if not one every other month. And then that way, if there are taxes, it's not like I'm getting reamed buy taxes every year. I'm getting enough to the point where people want it, they can get in on it. You know, if I got to pay like a couple $100 in taxes at the end of the year, that's whatever.
If that,
But you also can write off the boxes,
Right.
which helps with that. So
That's going to bring down anything that you're going to pay taxes on. So that's
exactly. So it kind of cancels itself out in a little way. So.
Well, and that's why I reinvest everything. And if I reinvest everything that I'm selling, usually I'm not paying anything in taxes for the most part.
Right.
Well, I think Prime, he was saying that he's got a work thing he's got to attend to. Unfortunately, you guys might not know it, but he's pretty big in the company he's working for, so he's got to take care. He does some managerial and supervisory stuff. So, Prime, thank you much for joining this evening. I think he's already on a call. Take care. Thank you much for joining.
Thank you. Later, guys.
Bye, Prime.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
And then there was 4.
And then there were 4. Well, it fits out better. Like, that's one of the reasons we try to keep it to 4. You know, my big face fills up this square a lot better. You know?
Yeah, when you get 10, 12, 15 people in there, it gets chaotic. Everybody's talking over everybody.
I've already told Pat that that's not something that we'll ever have on our channel. That's just,
right.
That's just,
that was
keep them waiting in the wings and kind of rotate them out.
Sure, I like that.
That was one of the things is that we have like a bare minimum for quality as well. You know, you got to have a good mic. You have to have a decent camera. You know, do the thing.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, right. He's just got to go take pictures of his feet. That's actually how he makes his money. He's got gorgeous toesies.
I mean, hey, you get big up in the corporate ladder. Sometimes you got to sell a couple feet pics. You know what I mean?
I think all of Richie's new
CBS, get out of here, Alex.
I haven't looked at Imperial Seal in a while. It's $70 something dollars, $72 on its low.
Oh,
the basic version.
Yeah, for the normal basic version. Interestingly enough, the Portal 3 Kingdoms version is still $950.
I mean, there's not many of them, so I guess that's at least good.
You almost made me spit on my mic.
I don't remember what were they before. Let me see here.
I think they were like in the thousands.
Yeah,
and then they brought.
They got clobbered.
Yeah, they went down, but I mean, it's kind of one of those things, right? You got to kind of let the market figure it out. And luckily, with Double Masters, it was like
they got clobbered kind of big. They were like 1,700.
Yeah, they took a pretty big hit, but I mean, even still now to this day, as the market continues to change, unless they print Imperial Seal again, which Wizards of the Coast could do,
probably
right? But it is at least the original version of Imperial Seal is very hard to find, and probably most of them are already graded at this point. So,
and actually, that's a great question for Twiddler there. With access to so many different sets, you go through a lot of different types of product. Is newer cards in rare presentations? Do you believe that the textured foil of Kozilek is better than the original printing of Kozilek? Do you feel that some of these newer iterations of cards hold value in the way that older cards do?
Yes and no. I mean, it really all depends. And like, for example, the Halo foils that came out, look what happened to those. They came out, they were phenomenal to begin with, and they just tanked over time. The only thing that I'm kind of impressed with at the moment is the fact that Aftermath, which has bottomed out, hopefully, it's still holding value. A lot of the Halo foils. Now, granted, it's still relatively new, but on a set like this, I expected it to tank a lot faster, and it's really tanking a lot slower than I expected. I mean, you got to figure Obnix is up near $60, the Halo version.
Yeah.
And you can get these. I'm hearing that you can get these epilogue booster boxes for what? $50 now sometimes.
50,
I mean, I know you can't get a Halo foil in here, but still, I mean, everything's tanking as far as it goes. But the value seems to be holding at the moment. Time will only tell. Now, over time and all the different games.
Matt, why? So this is particularly Thorn-like to me in that I wanted to open this really bad, Double Masters 22 collectors when they came out. So me and my buddy that I do the investing with, we bought 2 boxes and 4 packs loose so that we could have the experience of opening up some packs.
Yeah.
Out of one of the loose packs, we pulled this card, the textured Kozilek.
What's that high up there?
Yeah. Well,
800, but that's not realistic.
That's the
couple hundred is realistic, and then it just kind of.
That's the Moxman pre-sale price value.
That's what I was gonna say. Isn't that like launch time?
This is
and
dumb
then
boy tax. This is Timmy tax.
Yeah. But when we pulled it, it was like 150, and now to see it selling at barely $80 is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
None of them are really selling for. Wait, where are the rest of the textured foil?
And it makes enough sense to me. As
really honest, $50. What the hell?
Why would I want this? Because okay, if it's a really worthwhile card, you're gonna sleeve it. You're gonna double sleeve it.
Oh, people that spend hundreds of dollars on these, I feel so bad.
I know.
Oh,
See,
man.
I don't, because I'm an absolute prick, Matt. I don't feel bad at all for people who paid that much money for these. Like, honestly, sorry, that was actual noises. That wasn't my mic breaking up. I didn't know how to process. Like, who the fuck is paying $500 for a fancy Magic card?
So I've got a question.
700 at a high. Holy.
And this is the whole thing with this too, is the fact that, again, we come down to the fact that it's not always that it's the original printing that is going to go for more, because obviously the most expensive version of Kozilek is the textured foil version of it. But I think when it comes to things that are, you gotta view as far as like original printing and also rarity. So like Imperial Seal not only was the original printing, but it also had incredibly low numbers in print run at all. And so that is a reason why the card has the price value where it does. Same deal with the inventions of Soul Ring, right? Soul Rings, the Kaladesh inventions. Like, that is a really hard card to pull, and it's really, really difficult to do. And there's no pure guarantee you're getting it, which is why it is not only a rare version of itself, but also the most expensive version of itself, because it's harder to find. So, unlike a textured foil in Double Masters, where if you buy a case, you got a 1 in like 5 chance or something, like you can do that. So
it's like Twiddler's not here when I do this.
Where'd I go?
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, I think that's a great point, that rarity, not the specific card type, common, uncommon, any of that.
It's all gimmick.
Right, that's absolutely, because there's like super rares. There's cards that you just don't get in the same type of printings. And the manufactured scarcity of some of these is why the One Ring is going to be as pricey as it is.
Exactly. And even the other serialized rings are going to be just as popular. Like the serialized, this is why even still you're seeing serialized stuff go for a decent amount. It's because we know how many are printed. We know how many there are. And even though it's like the silliest way possible, and they probably could have done something better to actually like make them more unique in their serialization.
Well, yeah, they
still made it serialized.
I was just realizing all of us are probably more into Flesh and Blood than most other creators on YouTube at this point. With the next set coming up, Dusk Till Dawn from Flesh and Blood, they're doing their first ever serialized cards. They're doing 20 hand-drawn serialized cards. Totally different than anything we've got in Magic.
Cool.
Right. Yeah, it's an absolute different take on making the card special. Instead of just having less, they are actually something, a collector's piece in a totally different way. And just as a heads up, if you guys didn't hear the news, originally they were only going to be in the Belgian printing, the serialized cards. They have actually changed that now. They are going to be evenly split. There are going to be 10 in the Belgian and 10 in the Japanese printing as well.
I don't think they said evenly split. I think
that's a
they
good point,
just.
yeah.
I think they said that now they're going to be available. So
In
in
both,
the Japanese printings too. So and that's where like it kind of gets weird, right? Because some people are like, oh, so you're telling me my chances of pulling them are the same from the Japanese packs as the Belgian packs, and like people think that they're getting like screwed over because originally they had like a better chance to pull it if they were just in Belgium, but now that they split them, that now there's technically less of a chance to pull them, and it's like it's going to be incredibly hard to pull these cards anyway. Like I would be surprised. I would be very surprised if we see one of these cards pulled within the first like month of the set being released. Like
I don't know.
It's
If
going
we
to be
get
very.
Twiddler in on the game, though.
So what you're saying is wait a month before you buy any boxes.
It's I don't know. I mean, like I think there's going to be a lot of hype, and I think because of a lot of hype, there's going to be boxes that are going to sell for a lot, and even still further on down the line, right? Like that is originally getting these cards, right? Like for instance, let's take Uprising, right? Uprising has the Marvel dragons in them, right? Yeah. And that is something that people are like, wow, that's super cool to have. I can open this box and I can I have a chance at a Marvel of whatever, because it's not just the dragons. There's other Marvels in the set too. And you have a chance at that, right? And it's a fun little chase thing, right? But like Dusk Till Dawn boxes are a supplemental set that the supplemental sets normally don't sell very well in the way of boxes. But now that there's a chance that you can get a 1 of 10 serialized version of Prism, the waifu of Flesh and Blood right now, like if hand-drawn, cold foil, the whole 9, and you can get that in these boxes are going to hold a huge it's like part of me is really, really happy, because that means that everybody has access to being able to open these and have a chance to do it. But another part of me is like, well, what is this going to do to the box prices initially? Are we going to see more of that first ed problem that we were having originally, where like now the boxes are really, really, they've got like an insanely rare thing in there. I mean, it's going to be thousands of dollars. So if that's the case, are people going to be able to pick up these packs at a regular rate and buy them like you would a pack of Dynasty? Or is it going to be, because the MSRP for everything is one thing, right? Because they have the MSRP and then they have an MSRP of like 20% off
the map
pricing. And so they do that for LGSs, but secondary market stuff for people who don't have like access to those things, people very well could be hoarding a whole bunch of Dusk Till Dawn boxes and then just waiting until it happens. And
map is a minimum advertised price. There is no maximum advertised price, though.
Right.
There's no ceiling. There's just a floor.
Right.
Now, that's really interesting, Alex, because we see a total different dichotomy in Magic the Gathering, where there is a separate line of products for the collectors, for the chasers, right? In Flesh and Blood with Fab 2.0, in the way that they've streamlined their products, I think it is totally different. And that's very, I really wonder how this is going to work for them, honestly, because this is going to be the most driven set out of anything they've ever produced. In my personal opinion, this is probably going to be the most sought after modern era product from Flesh and Blood. And if I do expect that the average box price will certainly be higher than normal. Most boxes now go between $80-$90, give or take, right? I certainly feel as though this is going to be like $100-$120 box if you're able to get them. And Flesh and Blood has certainly been increasing their print run numbers. With the change to Fab 2.0, streamlining the first edition and unlimited, they're definitely going to make a lot of this product, which is probably going to be the biggest release for Flesh and Blood. I see Twiddler over there. He's doing some action. What you got going on, Ed?
Trying to see if I can find any pricing. any pre-sale pricing.
Yeah, I don't
assumed
think
he was like these noobs are talking about flesh and blood. I'm just gonna go look at Magic stuff.
I think overall, I think that it's going to be a weird one, right? Because like if people think that the 2.0 print runs are going to be excessively high, then that means that the odds and chase of the boxes for like sealed collecting are going to be pretty low because people are going to go, well, yeah, you could get this thing in here, but if they print like 300,000 boxes and people don't immediately go on an opening spree and open like 100,000 of them, like you're not sure how much product you're working with at the end of the day. But I also don't know what they're doing with 2.0 print runs, right? We don't have any idea on whether or not they've capped it at 200,000. Maybe they've made it a little bit less. Maybe they made it a little bit more, because that was a problem with their first ed stuff, is when they made the first edition printings really, really high. People were like, we don't want to collect this.
I was going to ask you that. I say, why repeat the mistake of the past by overprinting?
I mean, Prism is pretty high.
Exactly.
And they,
yeah, like I get
right. This is the waifu, like this, literally, like this, and that's what I'm saying. Like people,
I was going to say Dorinthia is my waifu, but that's a pretty good looking picture. I won't
that's the new and we haven't even seen that's her
I'll be
young
honest,
version.
I could definitely take this in like a wall scroll or something. Yeah,
guys, I shit you not. All right, listen, I have it as my phone background. Like that's like it's so good. And guess what?
You're not doing this. You're not doing this, Cal. This ain't your
Vincent. Have you seen the adult Vincent? Because we know what adult Vincent looks like, and we don't know what adult Prism looks like yet. So we're still waiting on that, and we don't know what they do. We don't know what the heroes do or anything of the sort there. So we're still not sure. Bologna is one of the heralds of Solana. There's like 8 angels and 8 angels that are over different sections of Solana. They're like named after these angels, but they're heralds that are. There's a whole lore thing. Man, go to Flesh and Blood TCG, fabtcg.com. There's a whole lore section. You can read up on everything there. It's super good. But it is. I think with Dusk Till Dawn, there's a lot of hype, not just specifically based around the fact that the meta is going to get like crazy because of all these
MSRP
cards.
is 109.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, MSRP 109.
Yeah.
But like I said, right? Like we don't know what's going to happen. Yep. You do get a buy a box promo with it, so
they're doing all the stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I'm finding 4-box cases for $350. I mean, that's
for $350, and that's good. That's
85
that's
good. Box about, so.
Yeah, honestly, don't see that as near the ceiling. Probably closer to the floor. $90 a box.
For sure. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think $90 a box. If you're able to pre-order them at that price, it'll be good. Because again, you also have to realize that they did make it incredibly difficult. It's not a 1 of 500 in these serialized cards. It's a 1 of 10 per hero, and there's only 2 heroes that are getting serialized cards. So the set already by itself, the supplemental sets already have like way more. The supplemental sets already have way more cards than a normal draft set would. So not only do you have a bigger pool of cards to go through, but now you also have, you still have to like hunt for the stuff itself. So I'm not sure what the general. I don't know what's going to happen with it, right? A lot of people, like they said, like initially, right now there's a big like pricing drama that's happening with Flesh and Blood, and like people doing all this. So
it's something no name drop, and I was talking with a couple of other content creators about Flesh and Blood, and the pricing is one of the things that originally threw some people off. I know 2 different people that both got burned by the Monarch First Edition rush. And I do feel as though Flesh and Blood 2.0 is even some of that out.
I got burned by Tales of Aria pretty hard.
I think most people did. Yeah, Tales
still sitting on 3 cases and hoping that one day I'll be able to break even, maybe.
Well, at this rate, almost every single hero from Tales of Aria is due to hit Living Legend at some point here, because Briar is almost Living Legend. Oldhim just hit Living Legend Classic Constructed. So now the only one would be left is Lexi, and Lexi's an incredibly popular deck right now. And is probably also going to then hit Living Legend sometime here, unless Prism and Vincent end up like throwing the whole thing out of the water. But but that's what I mean. Like Aria is an interesting one because even still, you've got plenty of things in Aria that are really good, and we don't know what PvE is going to do with Aria. Aria may have some pretty awesome cards in there, like Korsham, the Fabled in there, that very well could go well with things. You have Spellbound Creepers is in there. That's like a big Runeblade card. New Horizons for any like Lexi specifically. New Horizons is such a banger of a card. Even the Rainbow Foil is going for like $200 and some right now. So it's good to open. I don't know how much of it you should keep sealed, but I would say it's got a good one. But as far as Dusk Till Dawn, I think it's going to be. I don't know how many people are keeping sealed Dusk Till Dawn. So or will be.
For those of you that aren't Magic or aren't Flesh and Blood people, Living Legend means it earns enough points to become Living Legend. So basically, every Pro Tour event, every sanctioned Pro Tour event that happens, the heroes that get the top 8, or is it
first place?
Oh, it's only first place. Okay,
only first place.
In first place, they earn points. Once they hit a certain point total, they become Living Legend, which basically means they get banned.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a way to. Yep. It's their way of banning things that are too good in a way that I think is great.
It's phenomenal.
I think it's pretty.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I like a lot of stuff there.
So what's very interesting is when they LL Living Legend people, heroes. So you get to finish out the season. So you'll see that Bravo, even though there was a cap of 1,000 to hit Living Legend, there were so many people playing Bravo during the last round. Yeah. And same thing with Chain. You can see that they gained 1,100 LL points. So there were so many people in higher levels of competitive play that when they finished out the Pro Tours and gatherings, that they amassed a large pile of points. And you're able to, at any time, you can go on Flesh and Blood, fabtcg.com, incredible site hosted by the makers of the game. And you can see where different heroes are, how they're ranking.
Stand.
Yeah, and this is for the Classic Constructed. And then you also have your younger heroes for Blitz, which is a 500 point cap instead of the 1,000 for your CCs.
Yeah, Blitz
is kind of cool because once you ban one, everybody's going to flock to others, and it'll just bring those up as well over time. So.
Exactly, and that's a change.
Healthy.
And along with the hero itself, which is somewhat equivalent to a commander.
Too, right?
Yeah, their weapon gets
banned. Exactly.
But not all heroes have a signature weapon.
Right. You'll see
weapon.
Yeah.
Bravo Showstopper, his Anathos was the weapon for it. But for Data Doll, there was no equivalent weapon that was specific to that hero.
Yep. That tends and so like for instance with and this is like a funny thing with Oldhim too, like you saw on that list there, Briar she was dominating places left and right for a long time. Super good. But she's been at the 900s for the past few months. And the reason she has been is because Oldhim has just been dominating things with a super big fatigue strategy since some new cards came out and strategies have changed. And Briar couldn't win any big events anymore. And so because she couldn't win any more big events, it wasn't happening. She wasn't getting any points. But Oldhim continued to consistently win events and get points. For instance, Oldhim was well below Briar in points, but just within the past two months, not even, maybe like a month and a half, Oldhim has gotten 300 Living Legend points from winning at the Pro Tour that just happened recently, and then another 100 points at the Calling that just happened recently, which finally pushed him towards Living Legend. Which means that Oldhim was way below on that ladder, and all it took was just a good pilot and a really, really great deck and some good matchups to just climb through all of it. So while they may have a lot of Living Legend points, they may not be like the best deck in the meta, but they're it's all about like your matchups and what you're kind of getting into.
Right. Yeah, what you're playing into.
Azalea only has 10. That's so
sad. She just got onto the leaderboard last weekend. Like
they printed a bunch of new cards for Azalea.
Yeah, and she's been out. She's been out for since what is that? Crucible War? Not Crucible War. Arcane Rising. She's been a hero since like 2020. She's been a hero, but she has never once gotten into the top tournament scene until just now after Outsiders when she got all those cards, and now people are winning with Azalea. Now she finally has Living Legend points 3 years later.
They added a new mechanic. They added quivers to the archer class, which made them a lot better.
Yeah.
Honestly, the quivers not even the thing that makes her good. Like it's Premeditate. Premeditate is a really, really good card. Premeditate is a generic that you can put in any deck. It gets your next card you play from Arsenal +3, and then you also get a Ponder token, which means you get to draw a card at the end of your turn. So if you use your whole hand, you'll still have a card to put in Arsenal at the end of your turn. There's also
that's probably my least favorite thing about Flesh and Blood is how many fucking tokens there are. It like and not in the same way like Magic has 1/1 elf tokens. I need an elemental token, but like no, Frostbite does a thing. Like what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like what's Blood Rot? Like wait, hold on. There's bronze, silver, and gold. Well, there's a merchant class. That right there. I want the merchant and the alchemist to be doing stuff. I can't wait for some more weird shenanigans.
It's gonna be fun. It's a fun thing. I think it's good. So
does the Living Legends ever reset?
No.
Nope.
They do not ever reset.
But what they are doing is similar to like Dusk Till Dawn. Is the prism that has LL'd. It was so dang good. They took that prism and its weapon and they said, no more. This isn't great for constructed. It's overpowered. People figured it out. So what they're doing now is making a new one. You get a new prism. It's what we saw for the artwork there, that gorgeous gal floating on her throne, feathers coming down from Solana. Now we're going to get a different version, different powers, but of the same type and classes. So those specific type of cards that are only for the light illusionist, you can use those again. Your collection isn't dead. You get to remake those decks in a completely different light, which is a very interesting way to go about it.
And might I add?
This. Yeah, do it. That's why we got you here. Is for those opinions and deep insights.
There is talk, and it has been said by James White himself, the creator of Flesh and Blood. There will eventually be a Living Legend format where you will be able to play all of the heroes that have hit Living Legend in the format as like a.
I like that.
I'm not sure if it's going to be like a casual or like they're going to make it like more of a competitive thing. Probably not a competitive thing. Probably more like casual funsies. But they do have a Living Legend format planned. And there are no bans. No bans in the format. It's literally everything available. So
back to pricing. I got some information up here on the screen.
I play a little bit of Flesh and Blood. These are all decks.
Nice.
Holy shit. Okay. Well,
Blitz, though, honestly, I like Blitz. I haven't dealt in construction that much.
Honestly, for content creation, Twiddler, I'll pop that up in just a second there. I think for content creation, Blitz is probably one of the best ways to present to people because of how short the games are. They are head to head, so it's just two players, and your games are taking maximum 15 minutes. You can't dirtle a game longer than that in Blitz, even.
Yeah, so in Blitz. for sure.
What, 5-10 minutes on average if you have, well-tuned players?
15 to 25 ish. Like there's
There
still
are dirtle games.
Yeah, there's still some stuff you can still fatigue in things, but it's nowhere near like the life totals are halved. It's definitely not like as insane of a deal. But the Blitz games are significantly less because, like, let me tell you, if you guys ever look up dude, hell yeah, that's a nice one there. Is that the promo or
I don't
got a
know.
green P on it? The bottom.
It's just
And that's
Crucible
another great thing,
076.
honestly, Twiddler, is because we're so early into the collection era of Flesh and Blood, is some very interesting cards that you're able to get your hands on at this point that almost certainly will continue
Blitz deck
being more sought after with no extra production of them.
Oh yeah,
Flesh and Blood is very good about the studio, Legend Story Studio, the way that they produce cards and present prizes to people. They keep things very rare. The Judge promo stuff is definitely alive and well.
Interesting.
And speaking of pricing, I see you've got some interesting stuff pulled up for us.
Yeah, this is for the pre-release of the Dusk Till Dawn under what is it? $81, $80.97 per box.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I would say.
If you guys ever
Game Nerds.
Game Nerds.
Yeah, Bob does.
Yeah. I buy from them because the more you buy in bulk, the less the value come. They drop the price.
Yeah, if you snag that, I'll buy a box opening from you.
I was thinking of probably buying 8, but I'm gonna.
I'm not buying 8 from you for I don't need that many bugs.
I'm in for 24.
He's in for 24. He wants. Yep, give me all. Yep, get them all.
There is. I want to see what MinMax is doing right now. MinMax Games is one of the bigger.
Not a sponsor, want a sponsor, but hey,
yeah, they do
play
a
more
lot
Flesh and Blood.
of.
Same.
Listen, guys. Whenever, right? Like, I've got like 8 commoner decks over there that I can just like send to you guys, and you guys can just like play around with them. We can play on stream, like a fun little thing. I
have binders full of cards. Like I went into Flesh and Blood pretty heavy. The only reason I stopped playing was because none of my friends wanted to. It was one of those things where like we have to choose whether we play Commander or if we play Flesh and Blood. And we played Flesh and Blood for like a few weeks, and then everybody else was like, "But I really like playing Commander." I think. Oh no! The main reason was because it wasn't PVE or it wasn't PvP. It wasn't multiplayer. There is a multiplayer format, but it doesn't.
Pit Fighter. Yeah,
it's not as good as Commander.
It's not a very well fleshed out format. I gotta say,
I'm hoping for the PVE to bring it back.
PVE is going to do some pretty awesome stuff. I think it's going to be great.
The professor. I
think I have enough packs cracked to actually build a deck now.
You do, absolutely.
Well, that's actually one of the interesting things about like Blitz. One of the formats we were talking about is that you can just buy pre-cons, and they're like $10 to $12 on average.
Oh yeah, the Blitz decks are super cheap.
It's a very easy way to get into it. That's Rudy's sale that you had posted there for me. That brick he was talking about, the Blitz decks, is a whole chunk of them. It's
I don't get why you would buy that, but yeah.
Well, I think they weren't they history packs?
Yeah, those ones were actually more difficult to get. The history pack Blitz decks.
Yeah.
They had some pretty slick heroes, but they're a great way to get people into the game. The first things I ever bought was 2 of the Blitz decks and a handful of packs, so I could get the pack opening experience, get the rush, and then to have something that was a very entry level, understandable way to play the game. And thank you again, Alex, for getting me through my first card turning experience.
Not a problem. Happy to help. Yeah, it's like I say, it's the game itself. The Blitz precon thing needed a little bit of work, and I think that's something that they're trying to work on now. A lot of this is kind of like now all cycling back to what we were talking about previously with the pricing issue, but the fact is that most LGSs focus specifically on the classic constructed format, which is the very, popular 80 card deck format. Like, you got sideboarding, the whole thing. Like, it's very, very popular. But a lot of those people who play in those formats are pretty well seasoned into the game. They may have all the cards they need already. And because of that, they don't have to spend a whole ton of money because they already have a Findall Spring Tunic, or maybe they already have a Crown of Providence. And in most cases, if new people want to get in and they want to go compete at a classic constructed event at their LGS, they don't have the ability, they may not want to drop, $800 on a competitive deck to play at their LGS at that level. And that's something that is working, or that Legend Story Studios has looked at, is the fact that there are people who want to get into the game and they realize that there are cards that are just hard to get, that are really powerful, that they're not going to reprint to oblivion, because that's not the concept of Legend Story Studios. They don't want to print things into oblivion. They want their cards to have value over time, even if it is just like a legendary or like a few legendaries or a couple majestics. They want their cards to have value over time, and if they are going to reprint them, they're going to reprint them in an ugly way, like they did with the white borders, or at least everybody else thinks they're ugly. But
historic back one, baby.
Yep. So, and people will, they'll have their opinions about
honestly,
it,
though.
right? And that's what I mean. Like, there's always something there. But I think
so. It's funny. I was just talking with Red Zone Rogue about exactly that. So I asked you and I asked Cal. I was like, "Hey, what do you guys think about this? Are the white borders something that Flesh and Blood players hate or are drawn to?" I actually just bought enough revised swamps for Magic the Gathering because I do like that stark contrast of a white border. So I honestly feel as though some of the cards from Flesh and Blood Historic will probably hold an extra premium because they are white border. They are hard to get.
They don't
not white border, they're white background, to be fair.
Yeah. I think overall, the white border stuff isn't. I think it's great, right? I think it's great for a different reason, right? I think it's great not just because I think the white border looks slick, but I'm not like, oh my god, I personally would much rather have a black border card. But what I like about it is the fact that it is the product that is supposed to get people the cards they need in order to play into these events. It's got all the legendaries from the first 3 sets. It's got all 3 of the super powerful majestics, Art of War, Enlightened Strike, and Command and Conquer. They're all in that set. Every single one of them is in History Pack Volume 1. And the box also comes with 36 packs as opposed to 24. So you get 12 more packs in the box, and it's a fantastic product. But the problem is that the players who want to enter into the game don't want to crack packs. They want to buy singles. And because they want to buy singles, other people need to open packs. And most LGSs still don't want to carry Flesh and Blood because they don't really know whether or not this is something that they want to blow up in, because they've had a Magic scene for 20 years of their life. And they're like, well, we can't change. It's just not something that we can have happen. So it is up to a lot of people who are content creators, who are already established LGSs, to open up this product so it can get to market. And but regardless, that aside, it's also up to LGSs to allow players to play in different formats and have the same sort of pricing, which is what LSS has done with just the recent thing. They talked a lot about casual play and how they're opening up casual play to still have the same rewards in the armory kits like you would for Classic Constructed, but for casual play events like Commoner, and even another thing for Blitz, Blitz Precons. There is an entire format that is based around Blitz Precons, where you have just the Blitz Precon, and you can play into everybody there with a different precon. So let's say you choose Outsiders. You have 6 heroes and Outsiders, all of them with different Blitz decks. Everybody picks a Blitz deck up for $15. The store makes money. They get a blitz deck. It's a casual way for people who are veteran players to play the game at a pace that they might like. It's a place that new players can come in and be on the same level, aside from, skill gap and all that stuff, to be on the same financial level as the other players who are already playing. And it allows, for an even playing field. And I think a lot of LGSs need to start implementing that, because if they don't, they're going to continue to just get a bunch of the people who just play Classic Instructed, and they're never going to see their scene grow, because there are not a lot of people who want to spend hundreds of dollars on a game that they just started, right?
Yeah.
And
or even able to. And that's
right.
Definitely one of the difficult things is building towards a deck as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to piecemeal a deck together one step at a time, oh, hey, this paycheck, I can't get the Command and Conquer until next week, but I want to go down to the event this week. It's definitely a difficult thing to slowly put together cards like that. And I think Historic Pack 1 it's the first reprint set in Flesh and Blood. And I think it's actually, one, great that they did it in a separate type of border. So it looks completely different than the rest of the cards they've put out. So you can see, hey, this isn't the same as the original, which holds higher value for those first printings, which is, as a Magic player, a collector, that's phenomenal to see that they are in their reprint building in value into their older cards, but also getting cards out that people need. Like we saw in the list on CCG Player there, the legendaries, wow, very, very powerful, great set. And the Majestics, they hold a lot of value in that slot, which for a lot of sets, the Majestics are like rares. So some of them don't quite hold the same value.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I still think the barrier to entry for Flesh and Blood is the equipment. Phantasmal Footsteps at 170, Findel's Tunic at 200. I mean, you're looking at hundreds of dollars for just the equipment. Now, luckily, the equipment can transfer from multiple, across multiple heroes, so you really only need one.
Right.
That's kind of nice, but
I actually just sold a Phantasmal Footsteps for 210.
Oh wow, they're down to 170.
Yeah.
Oh well,
hey, man. Got out what he is.
If they want them,
I lightly played. Yours was mint, but
either mint. Oh man, that was a phenomenal video. If you haven't checked it out, that Flesh and Blood analysis video we did with Anthony was super fun.
That was really cool. I enjoyed that.
The only thing I hated was the music was too loud.
It
is what it is.
Work on that, Pat.
I commented on the video.
You'll have to stay tuned for our improvements.
Right, but yeah, and that's the thing, Matt. I know what you mean when you're saying like the equipment is a big thing, and I equate a lot of it to like an investment thing. I got told when I got told. I made my whole spiel on my most recent video on my channel about how there's like the barrier of entry to the game, which is like, I'm talking like kitchen table, you hanging out with your friends, jamming some games, having a fun time. $15. Easy.
Yeah, that's what I've done. I don't have any crazy, I don't have any crazy cards.
And it's great, right? $15, easy. You even can upgrade that deck for a little bit more, even if it's like $20 to $30 more, and you're still at least having a decent amount of stuff that'll be fine. But when you're playing into something like Classic Instructed, where people have been playing for a long time, and once you have a Findel Spring Tunic, you have no reason to get another one. You have no reason to get any more, and unless you open them in prize packs or something, like you have no reason for that. So you don't need more than one. So you just have that, and then in most cases, something that most people don't know is that if you really wanted to give new players the experience of being like at a higher level, if you have extra legendaries, or let's say somebody's playing a ninja and you only play illusionist and you have a bunch of ninja legendaries, most people just let other people borrow legendaries at these events and just be like, hey, like you got, just use them for the event, give them back at the end of it. It's fine. But in most cases, it's going to sound, I don't know. It sounds like somebody called me Andrew Tate for saying this. Nice. But you're a very buff black man.
Exactly
right.
Good call, guys.
I just genuinely think that if you wanted any of these pieces of equipment, right? If you go so much as out to, DoorDash or something, or some small like side hustle. Sell like some cards online from a different TCG that you're in that you don't need. You can make enough money to buy one of these pieces, and then you never need to buy it again. And it's like it can be used throughout the lifespan of Flesh and Blood. Whereas, like, if Rakdos Midrange or Rakdos Sacrifice ends up being garbage in Pioneer at some point, like all those cards are going to go to nothing, right? They're going to be nothing in regards to that. So
I think.
Do you think LSS ever bans like an equipment card?
So they did, and they have, yes.
Besides Duskblade.
Yeah, Duskblade they banned. They also banned Winter's Wail, which was Oldham's signature weapon, which is the wildest thing because Oldham was really, really powerful into the meta. He was the Winter's Wail is a very powerful weapon, and they knew how powerful it was. They did again another like big apology thing where they were like, we didn't expect it to be this kind of like crazy because you're also able to use it with a shield because it's a one-handed hammer. And like it was this big whole thing, and everybody was like, "This is really oppressive," and like the frostbites are just insane.
Oh, that's the one that gives a frostbite on hit.
Yeah, and so he was like, so they were like, "We're gonna ban Winter's Wail," which is normally something that they wouldn't do because like it's a signature weapon, right? Like normally if the hero LLs, it's gone. Right. LL. So they banned the weapon, and it turns out it did nothing to the hero. It still was insanely powerful. Like Oldham's still I mean, obviously Oldham's living legend now, so like you can tell, like he obviously still put in work. But they have done that. But what they have said, because everybody was wondering why these bans happened, like why did you ban Winter's Wail? Because Winter's Wail wasn't so much the problem as it was Crown of Seeds, which is the legendary headpiece that Oldham uses. Yeah. And Crown of Seeds is a way for him to generate resources, filter through his deck, and prevent damage, all for like one resource, all for one card, and that is huge in a fatigue like defensive strategy. And the card it's only able to be used in heroes that have an earth element. So it was Briar and Oldham. Those are the only two who can use Crown of Seeds. But Briar didn't really
constantly
use it because she was more aggro based.
Like,
a lot of equipment is like one-time action, and that's
exactly it.
I think that's actually, you guys bring up a really interesting point that isn't so equitable into Magic, is that some equipment is so worthwhile, like Findle's Spring Tunic.
Yep.
It is so good and so utilitarian that you can slide it into practically every hero's deck. Yes. Whereas in Magic the Gathering, we were talking about the Jeweled Lotus, previously $100 card, and how rare it is useful in decks.
It's still $80 some dollars.
Right.
Well, right, yeah. And
I would say that it's not as so if you're not familiar with Findel's Tunic, it gives you a resource every 3 turns, basically. You're able to remove these little counters that you get on it. You take up the tunic and you get an energy counter on it, and then you can remove 3 energy counters and you get an energy, or you gain a resource for that turn. And it's just very powerful because gaining resources, normally you have to pitch a card to get. So being able to just have an equipment that just does that. It also can block, and that's pretty good. And an equipment that can block and stay alive and then also still have use is pretty good. So I guess this one you would break, but you'd probably never really block with this one, huh?
Yeah, well, you only block with it towards the end. I can go into specifics of where you block with Findel Spring Tunic, but that's not really like a big thing. I think what I wanted to go back to real quick is like you're talking about, like the legendaries, like they're very powerful. They're powerful cards. And they're powerful because, one, they're already hard to pull, and they're legendary piece of equipment. I mean, it's like I equate a lot of it to just like if you were playing Diablo, right? Like, you're wearing common gear. Yep. You're not getting much done with common gear, but the second you pull that legendary, yellow named loot, you're like, wow, right? It's insanely different. So, but the cool thing that LSS has done, and something that they're really like, again, this is something that they have not like confirmed that they will be doing or not doing, but there was that talk that Crown of Seeds should have been what was banned and not Winter's Wail. Winter's Wail should not have been banned. Crown of Seeds was the problem, and we all knew it was the problem. So why was Winter's Wail, along with like several other cards, banned and then also suspended until further notice? And their response to that was that they felt that Crown of Seeds being a legendary, right? That people will invest into their deck, and they feel good about pulling these legendaries because they're hard to pull. So imagine if somebody pulls a legendary card and it's like their first legendary they ever pulled, and it's super good into the hero they want to play into, and then LSS goes, "Hey, this legendary card, we're banning it, right? It's just banned because we can't. We want our meta to be one hero that at some point, if he just keeps being good, will hit Living Legend, and then you'll never see play for that ever again." And I think that's kind of where they had it. They were like, well, here's the deal. Things in Outsiders are coming out that will help against Crown of Seeds, but overall, their idea of banning legendaries is very slim. They do not like the concept of banning legendaries simply because, again, they want their cards to have a pretty good value. Yeah. And they want people to feel good about pulling the legendaries, because if you don't feel good about it because you know this card is banned, right? You're not gonna have use for it later on down the line when they come out with an Earth, an Earth Ranger or an Earth something, right? You're not going to be able to use something like Crown of Seeds because Crown of Seeds is just, it's banned because apparently card's too broken. But it's only able to be used in Earth Heroes.
Speaking of Crown of Seeds and pulling legendaries, Twiddler, I see you've got some Tales of Aria and a couple of other Flesh and Blood boxes there.
So if all works out well, next Saturday I'll be back on Ashen's channel.
Damn right.
And we'll be opening the rest of so there's 2 more boxes that I had pre-opened, which
Monarch
is
to 1K.
Monarch to 1K.
Monarch is 1. So Tales of Aria, and then we will get into the unopened boxes, which are the Everfest, and then we'll do the next 3 in a few weeks after that. So
yep.
Hopefully that will go well. I've also still got to get with you regarding opening a box of WTR.
Yeah, heck yeah, buddy.
So I'll get with you on that, and we'll do that. And I don't know why, but I wanted to ask you guys, because it was on the back of my mind, going back to Magic for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you follow open boosters?
Vaguely.
Yeah, from time to time. Yeah.
Okay. He opened a beta box about 10 days ago. I don't know if any of you guys had an opportunity to see that.
I have not watched it yet. No.
Okay. If you get a chance, I was on the edge of my seat through the whole thing. He pulled just about every staple you can out of the beta box. If you get a chance, take a look at it.
Really? Shoot. Okay.
You got Black Lotus, you got a Mox Jet, you got a Mox Emerald, you got all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's crazy. So it was. I just wanted to let you guys know. Go check it out if you get an opportunity. That was really cool. So
yeah, it's fun to see people open that older stuff too. So
and get the good stuff.
Yeah,
out of it. And that was really, really cool. So yeah. But anyways, I've got to get going. That's why I was waiting for you guys to get an opening. I got some things I got to get done and whatnot. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, an absolute pleasure.
If you guys get an opportunity, swing by Tuesday night. We'll be cracking a whole bunch of this stuff. So it'll be really, really cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then I'll get with you, Ashen. I'll get with you, Pat. Matt, appreciate it.
Super fun. Thank you much for joining us this evening. And if you guys haven't checked out his channel, head over to the Twiddler's Place. Like and subscribe over that way. He does live streams twice a week, so you can get in on some great pack opening experiences there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a good time. Even if it's not, an active night, we have a great time just in chat screwing off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just feeding the ducks. Yeah. Awesome.
All right.
Take care.
Twiddler. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, and I don't know. What do you get? You guys, there's a lot of stuff in Flesh and Blood that I think is doing very well, and I'm curious if you guys have any questions or any regards to it. I mean, I'm by no means a seasoned veteran, but I've
definitely got a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate being able to tap you for that. Yeah.
It's nice.
I've got to say, I've got to go ahead, Matt.
I was just saying, my confusion of the game occurred when I pulled what was it, the rampart of shield, rampart of the shield's head, or rampart of the
Rampart of the Ram's Head.
rampart of the ram's head. Yeah, I didn't think it was two rams. Yeah, rampart of the ram's head. It was talking about every time you block with it, you can pay a resource and it gains a defense. And I thought that it was just like, okay, you can block every attack that comes at you. But from what I understand, equipment stays on as part of a chain. I guess I don't understand the chains of combat, so that would be something that I would have to learn again, because I don't think I learned it correctly when I first started playing.
Yeah, and that's
chains of combat is interesting. It's not combat is not the same as Magic. Obviously, it's very different.
Yeah.
No,
there's like multiple stages.
Not at all.
They can close chains and open chains, and you got two chains, and you're balling.
Two chains. I'm telling you, that's also a fun meme joke in Flesh and Blood. If you ever get the chance to have two chains, it happens. But it's but I think a lot of that stuff, the combat chain is definitely a big concept into the game. But yeah, like you were saying, like Rampart with the Ram's Head, it's not so much blocking like each individual thing. It's so much that when a chain happens, right, you have an attack, and then you have a defense, and then you have your attack reactions, which can buff or lower your opponent's stuff or your stuff, and then you have defense reactions, which can add defense or some other value to the defending cards, and then that's just one chain link in the combat chain. And then if your stuff has go again, and you do something else, you're able to, or for another attack action. So if you attack, and then you have go again, and then you have another attack, that's all in the same chain. But if you play an action card, something that like gives your next attack +3 power or something, technically you break the chain, and then the chain starts back over with the first attack that you do in that next chain. So that's kind of how it's
why
done.
You would ever break the chain? It made no sense. I'm like, why would you ever not keep going? But I guess a hero like Dorinthia, she probably uses multiple chains, if I remember.
Dorinthia actually is only one chain at a time, and that is strictly because she only has one. Usually, in most cases, she only has one weapon. If you're playing Dawnblade, so Dawnblade, you attack, right, and you attack with your stuff, and then let's say you get a hit off, and if you hit and deal damage, Dorinthia's ability says that you can attack with your weapon again, right? But you still need to have it get go again. It doesn't automatically get go again. You can't automatically just attack with it. You have to still be able to give it go again, which is what all the attack reactions and all the buffs and stuff do for Dorinthia's weapon. So you deal damage to your opponent. Now you have an opportunity to hit with your weapon again, and you've given it go again with some of the other cards in your hand. But the chain breaks because technically you can't just take that Dawnblade and then move it over one more and have it be like, okay, we're on a new chain, or we're on the same chain, right? Because you don't have two Dawnblades. You have one Dawnblade. And so you have to break the chain to then attack with it again, and you're only almost always on one chain link in most cases as far as Dorinthia goes. But like ninjas love having really long chain links, because there's even a card called Salt the Wound, which says for every attack that has hit, I think it's attack action or attack, I can't remember. Every attack that has hit this turn, or in this chain link, or in this chain at all, this combat chain, Salt the Wound gets +1 additional power for every one that is hit. So for instance, if you have, and this has happened, like you have like 5 cards in a combat chain, and each of them have been able to ping your opponent for 1 to maybe 2 damage or however much. When you play Salt the Wound, it'll come in for like 7, because you got 5 hits off on the combat chain, and then you're playing Salt the Wound, which will come in for 2 base, and then get 5 because you dealt you hit with 5 attacks prior. So there's a lot of heroes utilize the combat chain in different ways, but it's all based on the deck in and of itself. So yeah,
it's definitely a different. It's similar enough to Magic to be able to kind of pick it up, but the skill level to be able to put things correctly is totally different. There's a a much higher ceiling on play level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of sequencing. Sequencing is your big thing because, for instance, like you can't, keeping things in chain is important because if your opponent is blocking with equipment like Rampart of the Ram's Head, and you break the chain to attack with a different attack, well, now they can block with Rampart of the Ram's Head again if they have the resources. Yeah. Whereas if you do it all in the same chain, your opponent has to utilize their resources to block one attack, and then they can't use those same resources for the second attack or for the third attack if it's all in the same combat chain. So that's kind of the, it's like it's a very interesting
back and
sequencing
forth,
material.
Very, very delicate balance.
Yep.
I got sad when I pulled Rampart of the Ram's Head because when I pulled it, it was like about $200, and now it's about $80.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, Rampart of the Ram's Head, it would have been. It's probably going to continue to go down now that Oldham's no longer going to be in Classic Constructed, but it very well may have find use elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, so that's one of the interesting things is as we see heroes get living legend status and their weapons that go with them get, knocked off as well. You'll see some cards definitely go down. But as LSS has said, that they're going to keep making heroes that replace them in some way. I think that we'll see a constant re-upping of card value. So as we go forward, Phantasmal Footsteps isn't super helpful once Prism gets, Living Legend status. But then again, it'll pick back up once the new Prism comes out. So I think we'll kind of see a cycling of values in a different way than we do in Magic the Gathering with just strict reprinting. Is that you get like a different class to play.
Yeah. And that's kind of how it's meant to be because you have the equipment will always be for the class regardless. So even, Phantasmal Footsteps worked really, really well in Prism because Prism was playing yellow cards, and yellow cards, when you pitch them, obviously it pitches for 2. So you had a resource to pay for your Phantasmal Footsteps. You could get another card in there, get more poppers out of the way, etc., yada, yada. But in Dromai, for instance, most people aren't playing Phantasmal Footsteps in Dromai because she plays a lot of reds. And while paying a red to get the Phantasm to not be popped or whatever, and or it's still popped to get another action point to be able to play another one, and make an Ash because technically you're pitching a red probably for that. In most cases, you don't really want to do that because you're attacking with your dragons in most cases, and your dragons do not get activated with Phantasmal Footsteps. So it's only your attack actions, and dragons are not attack actions. They are just allies that exist on the board. So it's important to note that it's not like every illusionist is going to love Phantasmal Footsteps. And this also goes for the same deal with even Findel Spring Tunic. Dromai does not play Findel Spring Tunic. Just doesn't play it. She's one of the top decks in the game right now. Does not play Findel Spring Tunic. And that's because she would much rather play something like Flamescale Furnace, which can get her more resources and also Ash to get a better edge, as well as the fact that it blocks for more. She's a very control-based kind of hero, and so it's all different depending on where you go, but at least it'll be useful down the line. So while Rampart of the Ram's Head may not be $200 anymore, and now that Oldham is Living Legend and Bravo doesn't really play with shields, you do still have the opportunity that a Guardian drops in the next set, or 2 sets from now, 3 sets from now, however, and it becomes this huge thing where this is the shield that they're going to want to run. And, it's all depending on how that works out. But the other cool thing about class-specific armor and equipment is that when a hero and a class is low tier, and most people don't want to play it, like Light Warrior is right now, a lot of people do not want to pick up anything for Light Warrior. They're like, well, Light Warrior, Bolton is whatever, not really topping anything. There's just whatever. The cards for those heroes become incredibly inexpensive because nobody wants them, right? Nobody wants them, so they're getting rid of them. And then this happened with Carrion Husk, right? Carrion Husk was a Runeblade chess piece that came out in Monarch,
Hmm.
and it was like a, I don't know what, like a $60 legendary or something. And with it being a 60, let me look it up. With it being a $60 legendary, and it was only able to be used with shadow heroes. So Chain could use it, and Levia could use it, and that was it. Yeah, they didn't have any use for it, and so once Chain hit Living Legend, and Levia just, she's Levia. Like, most people don't like to play. She's kind of on that same level of Bolton.
Yeah.
The card tanked in value, right? It tanked in value, and it was like, I guess it was like more like 90. Let me see, 6 months ago. Where was this card? Yeah, like 60, 66, 68, roughly, right around October of last year. And now that we see a huge rise in hype for Shadow Runeblade, which we saw early February, we heard a little bit more about Dusk Till Dawn as being the new set.
Right.
Now the price has spiked up to $170 because people are hyped about it.
Yeah.
So
I'm tempted to buy a cold foil of Winter's Wail and a few other cards in case it ever gets unbanned. They're like $25.
Yeah, well, I mean, Winter's Wail. Winter's Wail is an interesting one because, like, obviously, if they're Living Legend, the weapon, Winter's Wail is Oldham's signature weapon, so it will never be unbanned.
Well, I'm talking about that format you were talking about. The
Living Legend format, though. Yeah, that could be very well a reason. That's the thing. If it's able to be used in that, beautiful, right? I think it's a great pickup. I think any of the cold foils, I mean, they're all really, really good. If you have an opportunity to pick them up, they're good.
Yeah, a lot of them are cheap.
Yeah.
And you could speculate on some of them. I mean, some of them are like pretty bad, and they probably will never see play, but some are pretty good too, though.
Well, and it also makes me wonder about the PvE format. If cards that are banned in Constructed, hey, I can still use this in our PvE area.
I don't think they'll be banned in PvE.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect so either, because cards that are the equipment for Oldhim, is there a young version of Oldhim?
Yeah.
Is he banned in Blitz?
Yes.
Yeah.
He also hit Living Legend, like, just maybe like a few months ago.
Right amount of broken. Okay.
He's so good. He's so good.
I'm just thinking that the weapon that would be their equivalent in CC would also ban that weapon if they hit Living Legend status in CC. The weapon that went along with them would probably get banned. So the Blitz would get neutered so hard if the weapon gets banned, but the young hero doesn't.
Yeah, that
would be a weird area to be in.
Yeah, and it's you're still getting it either way. So, like, if Oldhim and Winter's Wail are both synonymously together. So, like, if with one thing happens to one, normally the other. I think this is the first time we've seen it where, like, the weapon itself got banned first before the hero hit Living Legend.
Yeah.
And it didn't stop him. It didn't stop him. He continued to just run his train on people and ended up hitting Living Legend anyway. And so now it's banned for different reasons. Before it was banned because it was really, really powerful into the meta. Now it's banned because Oldhim is in Living Legend in both Blitz and Classic Constructed. So you can't play it either way. But as soon as, like, PvE stuff, right, other casual formats, you have other things that you can play. And even look at, I don't know how much you guys know about Clash. Clash is a unofficial format for Flesh and Blood that if you go to Fabrary.com, is it Fabrary.com or net? Hold on, I'm going to check. It's .net. Fabrary.net. If you go there, there's a whole section in there about Clash, which is a player-made format, not sanctioned by LSS, where it's meant to be more like lore organized. It's your young version of your hero.
Organized?
Lorganized, actually. Yes. So you're able to utilize things like Majestics and specializations and other things that you normally wouldn't be able to find in things like Commoner, right? Commoner, you can't use Majestics in equipment. You can only use rares and commons. So it's there's a bunch of different ways in which like a cold foil Winter's Whale will still be valuable, even for nostalgia purposes for the people who are like playing the game. People don't like a hero doesn't just hit Living Legend. Everybody's just like, all right, here's my deck, $500. Get rid of it. I don't want to see it anymore.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Trade in,
there,
please. Yeah.
there are people who like make actual connections with the heroes they play, and that tends to be enough for people to want to like foil out their deck, right? Get a whole bunch of cold foils and a whole bunch of rainbow foils and like completely foil out their deck so that it's like their baby. And it's, I view Living Legend as an inevitability, right? Not to make it like a wild thing, but it's like death, right? Like at some point
If
your
you're
hero
good enough, yeah.
is gonna hit Living Legend. Like it, if there's only 2 more heroes left in the format, Azalea and Azuri, and like one of them is gonna have to do it. But there will never be only 2 heroes in the format. That's just not gonna happen.
Is it either you die a hero or you live long enough to become living legends?
Exactly, right. You live long enough to become a living legend. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
it makes enough sense realistically because of how equitable Flesh and Blood is to a game like Diablo. If you continue to just grind out your levels and get a little bit better gear and a little bit better consistency in how you can put out damage, once you learn your build a little bit better, eventually you're just going to get there. And I am a huge fan of how they rotate heroes and the meta changes so often. And I think that's one of the great things about how they do their boxes as well, is that they are tuned to a certain set of hero types. Yeah. So it's like, oh, hey, Uprising, you're going to get your ninjas. You're going to get some draconic action. Oh, you go back to Monarch, you're getting a total different type of release. Whereas something like Magic the Gathering, when you open up Kamigawa, you're still getting spells. You're getting sorceries. You're getting instants. You're getting creatures. You're getting the full gamut of stuff. So it's very different in the way that you get to interact with the product line itself. And then there's the whole secondary market, so you can just buy whatever you need.
Right.
Yeah. So Alex, are you familiar with the YouTube channel called The Covenant?
Covenant. Yeah, that's Covenant. Is that Covenant Gaming? Right? They've got the C as their.
Yeah, it's like the red C as the.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot of Flesh and Blood stuff. One of the guys on the channel, he just got 3rd in one of the Pro Tours. It was like 2nd or 3rd in one of the events. Maybe got first. I don't remember.
Dunn is his last name, right? I can't remember what his first name is off the top of my head.
I can't for some reason remember either one of their names, but I watched them a decent bit.
Because he's a big professional player.
No.
Covenant, yeah.
Maybe he is, but he's part of a team. But I don't think he's a big professional player. Like this is his first event that he's ever like top 8'd.
Well, yeah, but he's a big name in Flesh and Blood. I at least know that. Unless it's like I'm thinking of a different Dunn, I can't remember what.
What's the white? It's a red C with a white background. Is there?
Oh, Zach Bunn, not Dunn. Zach Bunn.
Zach. Yeah, Zach and. Why can't I remember the 2 dudes' names? Zach and. Either way, the reason why I bring them up is because they do a lot of stuff with Flesh and Blood, and they do a lot of analysis of the different heroes, and that's where I know most of my knowledge from is from their playing, and they've got like how to play videos that are pretty good. So if you're looking to try to learn how to play the game, they've got a few videos that kind of go over the basics of the game, but then also go into more depth on pitching and the values of things and what to expect when you're. Or what to kind of there's some math involved,
Oh yeah, there's a lot. Like I cannot even put into words how much more there is into learning Flesh and Blood than just like, okay, here's your deck, like you get to win now. Like it's not like this is something that I also talked about in my video. Like there's a lot of people who when they see people win with these decks, they immediately go, okay, why did that person win with that deck, right? Why did they win a Pro Tour with Oldhim, right? Oh, it's got to be because he had easily like $1,000 worth of cards in his deck, and they were all super rare, and like not even like the highest level foiling. Like it's like Findel Spring Tunic is an expensive card, Crown of Province is an expensive card, Crown of Seeds is an expensive card. You've got all these, Command and Conquers and E-Strikes and like all these cards that are really, really expensive in a way. And that's got to be why he won, right? That's got to be why Michael Fang won the Pro Tour, is because these
it's
cards
definitely
are expensive.
pay to win. That's how that works.
Exactly.
It can't be skill. No way.
People imagine that.
Cards.
Right. I had somebody even comment on in the comment section when I was on the video. They were telling me exactly that. They were like, listen, I had beaten a new player with my deck at an armory, and they said the exact same thing. They're just like, well, I would have won if you didn't have like $300 worth of equipment. And he handed him his deck, and he took the other guy's deck. They swapped decks, and he's just like, okay, do it, right? Let's make it happen. And he beat his own deck. Yeah. And he was like, you see, like there's so much more value in learning how to play the game and the nuances of it than the card value itself. So
and that's definitely a big difference between Magic the Gathering and Flesh and Blood, is that you really can just boil it down more so to skill. There is less variance in Flesh and Blood. I was talking to a buddy about this when he realized that each card is usually resource, attack, and defense all in one card, and that there is no mana screw type of idea. You just design your deck differently, and it's not like change your mana curve. It's I want more reds. I don't need blues in this. Oh, I definitely need blues in this other one though, because I'm running heavy. There is a skill level that really drives the game, and it is wholly different than Lorcana, which I mean, I was listening to a conversation about playing Commander versus playing UPF, Ultimate Pit Fighter, the multiplayer format of Flesh and Blood.
Right.
In Commander, I can just like zone out on other people's turns. I can just like, right? And it sounds funny enough, but like I can just like dick around on my phone. I can, do something else while it's someone else's turn. If they're not attacking me, if I'm tapped out, if I have no cards in hand, I'm going to like not do anything for 22 minutes. Whereas in Flesh and Blood, it's like, oh, it's your turn. Oh, I have to actively pay attention.
Yep.
Like, oh, I have to defend. There's things going on. It's definitely a very interactive game, more so, I think, than Magic the Gathering. And the skill level is really the ceiling on it. And like I was noting that I think Lorcana is going to be completely the different play experience, the polar opposite of it, where there is no interaction.
Yeah, I mean, from what I know, right? Obviously, the first chapter being the only thing we know as far as Lorcana goes, right? I don't see many cards that are just like, yeah, I need to plan my turn around the fact that whatever he has in his hand, I'm going to be able to counterspell it. Like there's no general interaction that you're going to be able to worry about. It's essentially person A sets up their board and maybe kills the thing on opponent's board. All right, now it's opponent's turn. Opponent's just going to go ahead and do that exact same thing and then try to get lore. And they're going to do that over and over and over again until one person has 20 lore and they win. And that's, like I understand the concept for it. There's nothing wrong with having like a more casual focused game,
a particularly simple game.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think there are a lot of people who try to view things from a competitive light, and they will look at something like Lorcana and they will bash the game to no end because they will go, well, what is this doing? Right? Like, are people just like playing this at their tables and whatever? Like our LGS is going to be hosting like organized play events and this big whole thing. And like they don't even plan to do organized play, I don't think, for the first like year of its release is what they said, I think. So it's not at this point, it's going to be a go home, play on the kitchen table. Maybe you're going to be able to win a couple packs in like a side event that an LGS does. But for the most part, you're just playing the game, and there's not like a competitive aspect to it like there is in Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of a drive that is, being able to get a very low bar for entry. It doesn't take much to understand the game of Lorcana, whereas Magic has decades of complications built into it. I could see a lot of parents spending time playing this game with their kids to get them into trading card games, into, you know, different mechanics of that nature.
It's a great beginner card game. Like, don't get me wrong, I think I can teach just about any of the general idea of the game, and then if they want to like increase their knowledge to like, you know, deep diving into pitch stacking and like learning your deck. Like there's a guy I used to play with when I was going to Min-Max a lot for locals. Levi Roush. He's probably one of the best Azalea players in the world. And he knows he plays Azalea, and pitch stack is like a big thing in Azalea. This man knows where his cards are in his deck almost at all times with at least like 98% accuracy. And he knows what they are. And that's because he pays attention to the pitch stack. He pays attention to where the cards go. He's able to look at top cards of his deck and realize, okay, I saw that red Falcon Wing, like, 5 turns prior, or really not 5 turns, but like maybe like 10 turns prior. So I know that there's a Rain Razors and some other thing below it, and those are the cards I'm going to draw into. So how should I play my turn, whether it be defensively or offensively? How do I want to go about making sure this happens? It's an insane thing that you really have to dive deep into learning if you want to be up there in like the hyper competitive scene. I mean, talking like Pro Tours and callings, like
sounds like that guy's getting his butt kicked out of a few casinos.
He's really, really good. I mean, he mainly plays Azalea, but like not every deck is like that. You know, you have decks like Katsu. Katsu is a ninja, and his ability is the first time you attack with an attack action, if it hits, if you hit the first hit you get off an attack action, you can discard a 0-cost card from your hand to then search your deck for a card with combo, which means that you're then going to be shuffling your deck and going on from there. And so, like, Katsu does a lot of shuffling, whereas people like Azalea or even Dromai don't do a lot of shuffling because their stuff is based around their pitch stack, and they don't go into their deck as much as some other heroes do. So it's all based on hero ideas. You know, you only need to learn pitch stacking if you're playing a hero that practically requires you to pitch stack
that way. Yeah,
right. So it's a lot, you know, but it is a hard game. Even the world champion Michael Hamilton, he often says, you know, Flesh and Blood is a difficult game. It's a hard game to play, but the reward is very, very good. Right? I mean, $1 million prize pool throughout the year, and people really, really working hard towards it. But if you are a casual player, you can just play casual. $15-$30, like, hang out and have fun, right? Like, it's all about, that's what it's about. Like, it's not, there's like a very lucrative system. I guess not lucrative because there's like a lot of travel.
That's actually something I wanted to bring up, Matt. We've both seen a huge downturn in Magic's competitive play. There are no real pro tours in the way that they used to. There's no sustainable way that someone could become a professional Magic the Gathering player. Do you think that Flesh and Blood's pro tour is the right move? Do you think it is worth drawing players in to be hyper competitive in a monetary sense?
Matt is busy.
I'm trying to think. I don't think playing any playing card game or any TCG something you should be like, man, I'm going to make that my career. I think that if you're good enough, you can do it.
Exactly.
I don't think majority of people will succeed.
Okay. They won't.
Yeah.
They won't.
No, I definitely feel that. You know, having talked with Nikachu, and he was a professional chess player for a number of years, and I couldn't imagine betting my well-being on whether or not, you know, knight takes rook 4, or whether or not the top deck card is the one I need. It would be it is incredible though that you can make so much money off of playing cards, getting really good at a certain thing. I wonder if Disney will have something like that for Lorcana.
Probably not. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the thing is going to look like, because that's the other thing too, right? A lot of TCGs, when they first start up, they think that they have to have something that another successful TCG has for them to be like the best thing ever. So, you know, when people start up their organized play events, they go, well, Flesh and Blood's doing $1 million prize pools throughout the year. We have to match that, right? Like, we just have to match it. And there's no way possible. But there have been several opportunities, and, you know, as content creators, this is something that, even as Richie says right there, a big thing is that if you do well in tournaments and you are well known as a face in the Flesh and Blood community, and even then you can start making videos that are about like you teaching other people how to play the game and giving them your own sage wisdom in regards to the game. You have an opportunity to do that. But as a content creator, you're going to make way more money playing your card game as a content creator than you are ever as a competitor. Ever. You will ever. It will not. There's no way, no other way around it. The only thing that you're not getting as a content creator that players are getting is the prizes, which is the gold cold foils, which most people sell anyway on the market for thousands of dollars.
They're worth like thousands.
Yeah, and so
they look,
you know,
good,
they're so good,
phenomenal.
They look so good, and it's really like, that's what I mean. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's still a lot of insane amount of stress. And if you really want to go down that path, you want to pay for all the travel that you're going to have to do. You have to pay for all the time to train, all the hotel fees, all the, you know, maybe you have to rent a car. The World Championships is in Europe this year.
Yep.
I don't know how many people are going to be able to just take a day trip to Europe, a weekend trip to Europe, on a Flesh and Blood budget. Like, you just can't. You can't fathom that to happen for like a good portion of people. So because of that, it's not. I don't think it's anything that you should pursue as a career. But I think that if you are a good player and you're winning all of your armories all the time, and you've gone to a couple callings or battle hardens near you in your area, and you've won those, you've won PTIs, you've won ProQuest or Pro Tour invitations, you've won a Road to Nationals invitation, and you have that, and you want to continue pursuing that because you believe you have done really well into those player spaces, do it, right? Because it's an amazing experience, and it's such a fantastic thing. But and then obviously if you continue on and you do really, really well into those actual big events, you know, your name is out there. People will know who you are. There are two 17-year-olds walking around Flesh and Blood right now as some of the best players that we've seen. Lucas Oswald and Brody Spurlock. Like, they're 17 years old. And they're rocking the entirety of the metas when we see them. And it's all based around what you want to pursue. But I don't think that it's something that you should have to focus on. I think more so you should focus on what you love about the game. And then if you want to increase that into a more of a, what do you call it, like a competitive level, then you could certainly do that. But like for me, I play Commoner and Clash in a bunch of like budget formats because I want to collect the cards. So I don't have to spend any money on my decks, and I get to go buy singles and have wonderful collections. So, and
we all know that you don't need to be good at the game. You just need to have money. So,
right, absolutely, right. You just need to have money, right? Of course,
you can buy the Fandel Spring Tunic and the whatever equipment you're.
Oh yeah, it's definitely like Diablo. You know, it's just pay to win.
It'll
Go
win.
to
doesn't-
your
yeah.
go to
That's
your
it.
RMT website and pick
Yep.
up your Shakos and your
Yeah.
Enigmas, and you'll be good to go.
Exactly, and it's such an odd thing because everybody thinks that and again that comes down to the LGS and being like, okay, we're only going to play the most expensive format that it's like having Commander Night at an LGS, but like everybody's got dual lands and everybody's got all this other stuff because like they know what they want and they know what they've had in their decks and they know what their decks are like thousands of dollars, but they're not making like a budget level for people. Instead, they're just like, okay, everybody gets to play whatever they want, like whatever, give me your entry fee. I don't give a shit what you guys play. Like you can just play whatever you want. But
Sodas
that
are
does
$1, and we have chips as well.
right. And it's all depending on how they're run. And luckily with Flesh and Blood, there are opportunities for these armory events that were specifically only for Blitz and for Classic Constructed to now be for casual play.
Yeah.
So now there are abilities for people to get those cold foil weapons or cold foil heroes in the armory kits. They're able to get the play mats that come with winning. They're able to get the promos from being able to just enter into the event itself. You get a promo just for entering. And those promos go for a lot. Like they're at least like you get them for just an entry, and in most cases they end up becoming like anywhere between like $3 to $9 cards, depending on whatever it is. So it's worth it to go to your LGS to be able to play, even if you're losing. Even if you lose, even if you take 3 losses in the day, you learned things about the heroes that are at your LGS. You know a little bit more about the meta, and you're slowly becoming a better player, and you get to play. Right. So, I don't know. That's my whole thing with it, right?
Nobody actually plays Flesh and Blood, though, so it's dead.
Right. Nobody plays. Dead game. Dead as heck, right?
How many memes can we put in about Flesh and Blood today? That'll be...
Right? It's how it is.
I think it was a pretty good show,
Realistically,
Bob.
the game's a good game. I think it'll do well. I think it'll continue to grow, and I'm glad for that.
Yeah.
I wish I could play more. I probably could play more if I did the online thing, but I like playing in person.
I don't blame you. The purpose of the game is to play in person.
Right.
Like, that is...
They specifically didn't want a digital media,
exactly,
like an arena, because they want people in Flesh and Blood. Which
exactly, and that's
the game.
That's how it is. I think it'll be. I think it'll continue to have that kind of merit throughout all things. And while there are great online resources to utilize for the game, it does not compare. Playing on Talishar does not look anything like a real life game. Like, there's so many different things. I mean, I even say this with like Arena to Paper Magic, right? Like, if you're playing Arena, you're in a different headspace, you're in a different thing, you're just like slamming down cards because you're like, whatever, right? Whatever. But in person, you talk to your opponent, you have small talk. You can watch their body language for certain things. Like if they draw a card and they make like a weird face, you're like, oh, like they probably drew garbage. That's great for me, right? So
is there no VoIP on Talishar?
No. There's a text to speech, or not text to speech. I'm sorry. There's a text chat. But that's it. Like, and in most cases you're able to talk to them, but like there's not a voice option, so you don't get to talk to them over that unless you're like in Discord and you know them and they're like talking to you. You can talk to them through that. But in most cases, if you're doing it, it's dead silent, and so you can talk to them through the chat box, but you're not doing much else. So, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting one, I gotta say. But luckily, it seems to look like it's nothing but up for Flesh and Blood right now, and I am gonna continue to just cover as much as I can on my channel because I like it. I really just genuinely enjoy the company behind it. I enjoy the game itself. I enjoy the collecting aspect of it as well. And yeah, play Flesh and Blood. That's my That's why you
yeah.
invited me on here. Play Flesh and Blood. So
Pretty good.
Well, awesome. I see we're at 2.5 hours at this point, so I think it's been a pretty good long podcast. Anything
There
you
you go.
guys want to say before we wrap it up for the evening?
Matt, you can
Make
start.
sure to check us out on Pure MTG on Wednesdays. We're doing a live stream of Dungeons and Dragons 5e. We're currently in the Lost Mines of Phandelver. I've got to say, it's been super fun, Matt. Thank you so much for hosting that. I've got just so many things I want to do for the campaign. It's been a huge blast. I'm really loving it. And thank you,
Only
Bob, for
level 3
joining
at the
us.
moment.
Yeah. What's that, Matt?
I said you guys are only level 3 at the moment.
Ah, man, yeah, but like
There's so much more levels to get.
so many levels. There's so many fiends to kill. We have to drive the undead from these lands, I'm sure.
As far as anything closing statements, I don't know. Flesh and Blood's fun. Give it a try. Blitz deck's like $10-15. It's a good way to get introed into the game. Watch some YouTube videos, figure out how to play it, and then you could realistically make. I mean, I griped about the equipments being super expensive, but they're only really required for like the going into the tournaments. If you're just playing at home, you don't need them. There are plenty of alternatives that are $1 or less, so you could definitely build a deck for dollars. So it's definitely not an expensive thing. But if you want to play it at a I don't even want to say competitive level. If you want to play it at a higher level, then just like Magic, you're going to spend thousands of dollars on the mana base, which is the only mana base really in Flesh and Blood. I guess would be the equivalent of the equipment of being like a staple of every deck.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. Enjoy Flesh and Blood. Enjoy. If you don't enjoy Flesh and Blood, cool. If it ain't for you, that's cool. Enjoy your Magic. If you like Magic, if you like sorcery, go play sorcery. If you like Wyvern, go play Wyvern. If you like Ashes of Creation, go play Ashes. I mean, I don't know. One of the things that I like about Flesh and Blood and Ashes over Magic is the mana base, not having to care about mana. Mana to
Right.
me is such an outdated resource that I just don't give a shit about. Nothing about mana is fun to me. Like in I don't know, it just in Flesh and Blood, you pitch a card and it gives you mana, so you're never mana screwed ever. Like you can get you can get pitch starved a little bit if you get like all reds because they only pitch for one. So there are hands that are bad, but they're never unplayable. They're still playable. They still do something. Same thing with like if you play Ashes, Phoenix Reborn. It's a living card game, so it's not a TCG, but it's still a card game. And you roll dice for your resources, and you're able to use the symbols on the die represent the symbols that you need for the cards. So there's still a resource there that you always get something, and then you can use like a side action to like turn dice to whatever you want, and it's just great. I don't know, just Magic. I think they're screwed. I think they can never change. They have to always go with mana, but
yeah, they can't.
It would
go
be a
back
better
now.
game if it didn't have mana. I think.
Magic would be better without mana.
There it is. You heard it here first.
so.
Hot takes. Yeah, we're deep, and that's good. I like it.
Right. So yeah. Well, I mean, as far as closing takes for me, I mean, like I said, I'm a big contender for the Flesh and Blood world. I love the game a lot. I'm in the same boat where like I think it's nice that there isn't a mana screw or a mana flood or like anything of that. Like every hand is useful. But like overall, I'm just happy to find TCGs. I'm happy that I can cover multiple TCGs on my channel, and I wanted to take a look into even something along the lines of Grand Archive. Looked like it was kind of like a fun little thing. I thought about trying to see what that's all about.
Really into that,
yeah. So, and it's I think overall, I'm excited to just keep playing games, and I just have fun playing the TCGs I like, and Flesh and Blood is certainly one of them. But much like it was said, if you like Magic, keep playing Magic. If you like Flesh and Blood, keep playing Flesh and Blood. If the price point is too high for you to get into a card game, don't force yourself to get into it. I don't want anybody going into debt over cardboard. It doesn't make any sense. So just enjoy what you can, and even if you have to play at a commoner level for a really long time in Flesh and Blood, or if you just want to play around with blitz decks at your house with your buddies for a little while, you can do that. Nobody's telling you have to upgrade to become some pro player that's going to top 8 the Pro Tour and get thousands of dollars in prize money. Like it's real. Sure, like is it like theoretically realistic? Yeah, maybe, but you have to train for that. That is a
Sell your
job.
car and
Yeah.
and buy plane tickets to the Europe tournament and buy the card you need. I think that's
Yeah, I think that's definitely a valid reason.
the right way to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, and then you can also check me out at Ashwin's TCG if you want to
Yes, exactly.
hang out over there, right? And I'll talk about all things Flesh and Blood. So yeah, that's it. That's it for me. So
well, hey, this has been super fun. Thank you everybody for joining, both here live in the studio as well in the comment section. Until next week, this has been Cardboard Conversations on Pure MTG. We've been just absolutely blown away by the reception. So thank you much to everybody in the community, and we hope to see you next week. Take care.
Later.
guys.